First of all, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, October 18th, regular meeting of the Town of Easton Planning and Zoning Board. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you will need to use the link on the agenda, which is on the calendar on the front page of the town's website. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendees, meaning they are muted with no video feed from them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting,
Recording in progress.
Members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request using the Zoom Q&A function. If you are joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion and a second, so that it will be clear to the audience and to minute takers who made the motion. All votes will be by roll call. When all business indicated on the agenda has been completed, the members will vote to adjourn the meeting, signaling the end of the meeting and termination of the ECAT recording. All participants will be disconnected from the webinar at that time. There are several other sort of FYI points, if you're not familiar with Zoom, which you can read on the agenda. So we will move forward, seeing that we have a jam-packed agenda. So up first, we have 4 internally illuminated signs. Yep.
Just before we start that, we've got to put this on the agenda, but we'd like to talk about the next board meeting, because right now it is scheduled for the same night as special town meeting.
Okay, so hang on, before I forget, I screwed up too. We need to do a roll call to ensure we have a quorum.
Yep.
So Greg Strange here.
Shane here.
Stetson here.
Anderson here.
Sarek here.
I'm here.
Okay, we got everybody. Thanks. All right, so go ahead, Stephanie. We talked about this while you were out, and we said, so we agreed to cancel that. Well, we have to cancel that meeting because of the town meeting, and then we were just going to, I guess, determine if we felt a meeting was necessary, because we're at 3 weeks to our next meeting.
Right, it would be the 18th.
Would be the time for our next meeting. Oh, that's our next meeting. So do you have any recommendations, having been in touch with the applicants and all? What do you think?
Actually, I haven't had a lot of time to look at that. Suzanne, what do we have on the agenda in the queue?
A few new things came in. I'm not sure if they'll be ready to go or not. But the next meeting is 8th or 22nd, unless you pick something in between.
I mean, we could do November 1st if we needed, but do you want to just, since we're so pressed for time tonight, do you want to see what shakes out the next couple of days and then reach out to the board?
Yes.
That's possible, except we'll need dates to continue some meetings too.
We can't just say to our next, well,
Usually it's a date certain.
Gotcha.
So the only thing that, let's see, the 18th meeting date, everything's on. We have 81 and 91 Summer Street, and A&R. That's it we have on the agenda right now.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we ask the board, since we're all together quickly, November 1st, would you, because we're canceling the November 8th meeting.
Mm-hmm.
If we have to do it so that we can continue to date certain, which we could always change later, are there enough members available on November 1st for a meeting, 2 weeks from tonight?
Okay with that.
Yeah, probably.
I know I can make it.
Yep. Yeah, it looks good.
So you want to do that, Stephanie, for now, and then we can always cancel
Right,
that.
and then through the night, if things are being continued, we can ask if people feel they need to continue to the 1st, or if they can wait till the 22nd. How's that?
Sure, yeah, let's, yeah, exactly, see where
And
we're
we
at.
can
with
figure
each
it out
case.
at the end of the meeting. Okay.
Do we need a motion? Do we need to do this for a motion? To add a meeting? Or does that matter?
You know, I'm
Shane, where was the public schedule, or is it okay?
Yeah, I think we're okay, but I always, when in doubt, you can take a vote.
So I would love someone to make a motion to cancel the November 8th meeting and replace it with the November 1st meeting.
So moved. Stetson.
Anderson, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. I know I see a hand up, but that was up before. All those in favor, Strange eye.
DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Great. It passes. All right, great. So we'll pencil in the 1st. Now we can use that date tonight. All right. So we can move on to the signs. You have anything else, Stephanie, or is that?
Nope, that's it.
All right. So first up, internally illuminated sign for 700 Depot Street, Easton, Duncan.
Yes, and if anyone who's there for that can raise their hand, and then I'll share my screen.
It should be Sean Donovan.
Yeah, I was gonna say a hand just went up for Paula and Sean Donovan.
Okay. Let's see, promote panelist. Okay, looks like they should be joining us momentarily.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? This is Sean Donovan from Viewpoint.
I can hear you. Yeah, if you could, well, you sort of did. If you could just identify yourself, name and address for the record, please.
Sure, no problem. My name is Sean Donovan. I'm with Viewpoint Sign and Awning, and we are the sign manufacturer and installer for the Dunkin' Donuts. They're on 700 Depot Street in Easton.
Thank you and welcome. Stephanie, are you gonna do we need to put the screen up? You wanna share your screen, or has everybody looked at this?
Yeah, I've missed, yes, hold on.
Best I could tell, they're basically just replacing everything that's existing with a new.
Okay.
Yeah,
label.
and I guess also because it's an illuminated sign too, it's.
Right, that's how it becomes before
Yeah.
us, yeah.
Can you see the sign now?
Yes, I see your screen.
Okay, good.
So, Mr. Donovan, do you want to add anything or just?
Yeah, so what is there existing now is a illuminated wall cabinet. Well, it's gone now because the store is currently under remodel. So that illuminated sign box will now be replaced by individual internally illuminated channel letters. So it'll actually be a lot cleaner, nicer looking sign. You won't have that white, flooded illumination. So these will be they'll go up in the new monolith. So what they're doing right now is currently rebuilding this monolith to look like you see in the drawing here. And then, it's a new next-gen imaging for the Dunkin' account.
Right,
And like I said, these will be internally illuminated individual letters.
yeah. Much nicer sign. We like,
Yeah, definitely.
I know it's not a channel letter, but we like that version.
Yeah. So this one here is an add-on. This is, the brand kind of sees this more as a decor, not really a sign, because this would be on the back of the building as you're coming around the back, approaching where you'd place your order at the menu board. It's not really facing anything other than whatever properties hit the back. You don't see it from the street. And again, it's kind of just customizes it to the town. It's like I said, it's more of a branding,
Sure.
type of idea.
Is this one illuminated or just?
No, these are
right.
pin mounted PVC routed letters.
Right.
They go on a nice little finished siding,
Sure.
accent wall they call it.
Right, they just did it on the one up on 138.
Right.
Industrial Park.
Right, and as I understand it, when we saw the one on 138, it showed in the rendering smaller, but Suzanne figured out that it actually is not as large. It's not going to be as large on the building as it appears here.
Yeah, no, and these drawings are as to scale as best we can make them, especially when they're imposed. That's a scanned image from a set of plans, so they're not to scale by any means. I mean, but the drawing up at the top, that would tell you it's square footage.
Yeah,
That's nice. Adds a little to the.
Yeah, like I
blank
said,
stark back of that building.
it's kind of more of a branding attempt, personalize the town and.
Sure. Questions, comments, anyone?
Looks good.
Anyone wants to make a motion?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Second,
Belcher.
Stetson.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Strange, aye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, I.
Elster, aye.
Great, that passes.
All right, thank you,
All
everyone.
right, thank you, Mr. Donovan.
No,
Good
it
luck.
was easy,
Have a nice
thank
night.
you.
We try our best here.
All right, appreciate it. I do have one quick question. Will the building department be notified of the decision?
Yes.
All right, because they're opening this, well, they're gonna try to open the end of the week, so we're gonna try to be ahead of the permitting, so. But I'll check with him in the morning.
Yep.
Always
All right,
good to
thank
be
you,
ahead with the
everyone.
permitting.
Go Sox.
Yeah, exactly. I know, we won't be seeing the game tonight.
Yeah, well, it starts at 8, so I don't know, it might be.
We're gonna end it. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, next up, same internally illuminated sign, 1 Roach Brothers Way, Anytime
we could-
Fitness.
If they could raise their hands, do we have anyone here from
That should be Kathy Brennan.
Kathy Brown?
Suzanne, you're right on top of that. So good.
Okay. Well, Kathy's coming in, I will. Oops, I think I may have inadvertently. Kathy should be joining us.
Yep, she said just needs to unmute.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Ms. Brown. If you could just identify yourself, name and address for the record, please.
Yes, I'm also expecting a colleague of mine, Jenny Crowell.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I saw her. Hold on.
Yeah, there she is. I just saw her, and she just whipped up.
Okay, hold on. Let me, is she on?
She's on, raising her hand right now, and
Okay.
it just says Jenny.
Good evening.
Good evening, all.
Okay, I think Jenny may already be a panelist.
Yeah, she's on. I see her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's in.
Yeah, I think that was her that just chimed in.
I actually inadvertently let her in.
So let's see. So whoever is presenting, if we could just get name and address for the record, and the floor is yours.
Okay, my name is Kathy Brown, and I'm here with my colleague tonight, Jenny Crowell from the Sign Center at 40 Orchard Street in Haverhill, Mass. And we are here tonight to present the plans to for our client, Anytime Fitness. This is new. They're moving into their space here. We are installing, excuse me, illuminated signage with GE illuminated channel letters above the front entry of the business. And we are also installing 2 acrylic panels with translucent vinyl graphics, which will be placed on the existing multi-tenant pylon sign. And there's the pylon sign with the rendering.
Mm-hmm.
The combination of area between the 2 signs is actually under 100 square feet total. And it's a very clean, very simple, very easy to read sign on both the pylon sign and the front sign.
Yes, you like the appearance of channel letters, especially when illuminated.
Mm-hmm.
Shown in your.
Hence why we are here.
Absolutely. So questions, comments, anybody on the board or Stephanie?
Nope.
So on the front sign, the sign will fit in the existing sign kind of area there?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay, motion to approve the sign for Anytime Fitness.
Hang on.
Second, Anderson.
I'll let you decide who won the second. So we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Strange, aye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, I.
Great.
Elster, aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Good
Have
luck.
a very lovely evening.
You as well. Next up, 690 Depot Street, Bank of America. I'm taking 22 seconds to let the dog out. Peter, could you carry on for a second?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And if anyone is here for that, please raise your hand. Okay, Heather. Yeah.
Joy of having the wife away on business. One dog equals 3 children.
Okay, Heather Dudko should be joining us.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
How are
Like to
you?
begin- Good. And just name and address for the record, please. Appreciate
Sure.
it.
It's Heather Dutko, 27 Old Meeting House Road in Auburn, Mass. And I'm working with Philadelphia Sign on this project.
Great. Okay, the floor is yours.
Oh, great. Actually, I thought the meeting started at 7 and I joined in and you just called me, so I lucked out. So there are 2 existing signs on site now. It's a operational branch, and this first sign on the front is an existing sign cabinet, 66 square foot. They'd like to remove the cabinet and they'll replace it with channel letters, 39 square foot, internally illuminated. In the little box down in the corner on the right will show the night illumination. So they do, they're blue, but they're an internal illuminated and a halo lit. So they have kind of a glow around them, but the blue is also illuminated in the lettering.
And then is there a sign on the other side or not?
Yes. And then the second sign, yep. It's the same situation. It's a box sign now, cabinet. They replace it with channel letter set at 18 square foot. And that's the extent of it.
Very good. Questions or comments? Board?
I think
I don't
those
have
signs are,
anything to do with the signage, but do any of the other signs have like a flat panel that they're being mounted on, as opposed to that looks like it's like shingles or siding?
Well, no, these will be mounted flush against the siding, individually mounted. There is another style of sign that they have an aluminum backing, and they do the channel letters raised on them. But given the size constraint that we needed for the second sign, they chose to just go with the flush lettering.
Thank you.
Anyone wants to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the sign as presented.
Shane, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none related to this application. All those in favor, Strange, aye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Alstera guy. I think we missed
Everybody?
Chris.
Chris?
He's muted.
Is
Well-
Chris there?
Maybe you had to run out. We'll abstain. We'll not include him in this vote. We have more than enough for the majority. So, Chris, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You there?
There he is.
Approved.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, next up, we have 566 Washington Street, Dream Machine Laundry.
And anyone present for that, if they could raise their hand?
This is Jamie Fisher.
Jamie Fisher.
With Easton.
I am not seeing Jamie. I'm not seeing anyone raise their hand.
I don't see anybody in the audience with that. So we will go
Let me
ahead.
share my screen and okay. So this is for the new laundromat that's going in, I believe this is where, was it a 7-Eleven?
It's in that, yes, it's in
Yes.
that building. This is on
Yeah.
the side. There was a I don't remember, Cape Cod with an arm. I think it was some sort of
Oh, right, yeah.
fitness
Yeah.
food or fitness center. I believe this is the space. And I did check the other buildings, I'm sorry, the other tenants in the building do have illuminated boxes, which is mostly what this is.
Wasn't there a dry cleaner on the end? Isn't that,
Yes, yeah, there's that as
Yeah.
well, yeah. I think this was
Yeah,
to the right of
This
that.
is their business.
okay.
Okay, and it actually is showing as white LED channel letters.
Right, but, yeah, but I thought it was on a box. Did it call out a box?
It's like they're on top of the white
The little-
Lexan, yeah.
Yeah, I think on the, but they are, you can see there is some relief,
Yeah, it builds up 3 inches.
So it's channel on top of
right?
a deep white Lexan panel.
Right.
Yeah.
They protrude out, so they're checking.
Mm-hmm. Any comments, questions, or motions by the board? Seeing we don't have a rep.
And then this is the
Can you
pile.
just repeat what you said, Greg? Like, yeah, because it looks like, so are they channel letters?
Oh,
or they're not?
Channel letters on a Lexan panel.
So look at the night view. The night
You
view is
can-
the
in
black box to the
materials.
right.
It
Right,
says 3/16 letters.
Right.
right. So I was looking at see the white box where it says Dream Machine Laundry. That has sort of the appearance of a light box, but it still has protruding letters. But I went by, and the other businesses just have standard light boxes. So this
Yeah,
is certainly
It's like a light box with 3-inch deep.
Right, so this
channel
is
lettering
from that.
on top.
At first, I was like, "Oh, we don't like light boxes," but the rest of the building has that. But this is, and then so this is on the left isn't a light box, so this is sort of a hybrid. So I felt I think it's okay. It's an upgrade from what existed previous.
Okay, motion to approve the sign for Dream Machines Laundry.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none related to this. All those in favor, Strange, aye.
Shane, aye.
That's an aye.
Anderson, aye.
Excuse me, Belcher, guy.
Zundite.
Thank you.
A very dramatic vote. Is that everybody?
Yep.
I think so. Okay, that's unanimous. Great. Thank you. All right, next we have an A&R plan, 31 Depot Street.
And I think Scott Rogers is here for that. He should be popping up momentarily. I don't like this delay.
I'm here. Can you hear me, Stephanie?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Rogers.
Good evening.
Just name and address for the record, please.
Yep. For the record, my name is Scott Rogers from JK Homegrown Engineering, representing George Mather. Before you tonight, we have an A&R plan on 27 Depot Street. We did get some brief comments from Stephanie Danielson. Essentially, we're looking to reconfigure these lots for a couple of reasons. One, the driveway on plot 88 is currently on the wrong lot, if you will. And also, the owners from lot A or plot 88 are looking to sell off lot B, and they wanted to basically get a little more land for lot A. So both lots conform to zoning. It's just basically a lot line swap, if you will. And that's really it. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer those.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie, do you have anything you want to
No,
report?
as Scott mentioned, they comply with the dimensional requirements, and the board should vote to endorse the plan.
Shane, motion to endorse the A&R.
Anderson, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing, and let me just check. I don't see any relating to this. All those in favor, Strange, aye.
Shane, aye.
That's an aye.
Belcher, guy.
Anderson, aye.
Great, it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, next up, A&R Plan 555 Foundry Street.
And I think Tim Boda's here for that. course, he raised his hand and moved, so before I could make him a panelist. There we go. Hold on. Is Tim there? Okay, so he's in limbo somewhere.
It looks like he's there, maybe just on mute.
I can't see him. Folks are able to see. Okay, I don't see him, but
He's got his hand raised now.
He's here now and
He's in our
muted
panelist.
his hand.
okay, I can't see him, which is odd.
Tim, you should just have to unmute
Ask
yourself.
on mute.
There you
Tim
go.
Boda, can you hear me?
Yep.
Welcome to Zoom.
Okay, Tim Boda, Conoco Engineers and Scientists, Bridgewater, Massachusetts.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to present?
Yes, we are dividing one lot into 3 lots as shown on the plan, lot 1, 2, and 3. I believe they all conform to the current zoning requirements. And that's pretty much it.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Just teasing. Stephanie, do you have any?
Yeah, so these lots are being divided under the new Furnace Village District residential zoning, dimensional requirements. And again, it's the existing lot is the one on, it was this lot with this house, and it's being divided into 3 lots. And it complies with the new zoning.
Right. My question, I'm trying to look up on it. The putting houses on here, is it by special permit or is it by right? You know?
They intend to convert this to multifamily, and it by right.
No, right. No, I'm talking about the two lots they're creating.
I believe Susanna and I looked at this the other day, and I believe it's special.
Right, special. So this is that's what I believe too.
And
so,
everything's special permit.
So this is simply just subdividing the lots.
Correct.
But for approval for the multifamily for the existing house and for the 2 new houses would come back to us for a special permit.
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to let everybody on the board know that. So.
Yeah.
Did I see a question? No. Okay. No. So the 2 questions have nothing to do with this. So, all right. So Stephanie, you have nothing to. You say this is fine.
Yep.
Board members, questions or comments for the applicant?
I believe that is an historical building, right?
It is. Yep. Which is any conversion of that to a multi unit would be through special permit, and it includes approval from the Easton Historical Commission as outlined in the zoning that passed last year.
And the other question is, we assume that on the area where the other 2 lots are created, there is nothing historical.
Correct.
Right, but one of the reasons for the special permit for that area is to ensure to have an architectural review on the exterior style to fit into the historical feel of the neighborhood. If there's no more questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the plan, Stetson?
Anderson, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Strange, aye.
DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Tatum, aye.
Anderson, I.
Sarah, aye.
All right, that is unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So next we have a request to continue to November 22nd, 2021. The continued public hearings for 560 Foundry Street, Sawmill Village, definitive subdivision and special permit other. Someone would care to make a motion to continue to 11/22, please?
Motion to continue to November 22nd, Stetson.
DeShane, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, I.
Tatum, aye.
Sarah, aye.
All right, we're coming in fast and furious, but we got them. Thank you. Next, a continued public hearing, preliminary subdivision plan, 31 Quanticut Ave, 21-246, Guinevere Road.
And
I
I
believe I saw Mr.
just
Lee.
promoted Aaron to analyst, and if there is anyone else on the developer's side who is to participate, could they please raise their hand? Oh, I'm sorry, I just lowered. I think Scott Rogers is here for that as well. Let's see.
Yeah, Scott's there. He's under panelist. Has his hand raised, but he's not.
Right,
Scott, can you speak? Can you hear us?
I can hear. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yep. And we can see you.
Good. So,
And
I'm sorry.
should I be sharing my screen on this one as well?
Yeah, be easier, I guess. Why not? All right. So this continued hearing. This was subject property of a site walk last week for informational purposes by majority of members of the board. And Mr. Waluka or Mr. Rogers, whoever taking the floor, just identify yourself with address for the record, and you may begin.
So for the record, my name is Scott Rogers from JK Holmgren Engineering, representing Aaron Waluka tonight, our client. So we did get some comments from the planner on this particular plan, and there were a couple things that could be corrected, but I believe those things could be definitely adjusted if we get to the definitive to subdivision stage. I consider them pretty minor comments that were made on that. And as you mentioned, there was a site visit last Thursday, October 14th. So essentially, we're looking to request to be able to move on to the definitive subdivision process for this. The client essentially is looking for one single family home. And the client will also receive frontage on a approved public way by us extending that quote unquote paper cul-de-sac, if you will. There's nothing being proposed as far as, extending the roadway itself other than the two driveways that we did show on the plan. So I guess with that, I'd love to answer any questions.
Okay.
I could real quick. Sorry, Walter Marioni, I think.
Identify yourself for the record, please.
Oh, sorry, Aaron Waluka, 31 Rear Paquonicket Ave in Easton. I believe Walter Marioni is waiting to be invited in as well, but he can't find his raise my hand button.
Is he calling in? Because I don't see Walter in the list of names, but we do have 3 people who are calling in.
No, he said he's on his app, but that's okay. You can continue.
Yeah, I don't see him either.
If he's on his app and he's calling from his phone, it may be that he needs to.
You can press *9, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what I read?
Right. Yes, that would be the raise his hand, and then I can allow him to talk.
See if I can. Let's see if I have these numbers. 4. Yeah, I don't see any of those numbers. So, okay. Well, why don't we continue and see if Walter's able to chime in. But yeah, I still don't see. Board members, questions, comments following the site walk and the previous presentation?
Yeah, I'll start. I guess just one idea is that, you know, if the neighbors, they seem to have a problem with, you know, having two driveways here, so could just use the new cul-de-sac for access to one driveway and just keep the existing access that you have right away to Paquonicket. I mean, that's what's existing, and whether or not it's functional or not, if you can't get his mail, I don't know if that's the bigger issue here or not. So that's one suggestion I have from going on that walk.
Thank you, Peter. Anyone else?
Can I address that comment?
Sure.
I know that the client, Aaron Waluka, would like to keep the existing access that he has, but have the second driveway in Guinevere Road as well.
Right, yeah, we're aware of that.
Yeah.
Appreciate you reiterating that. Board members, any other questions, comments?
Yeah, so my comment, and especially being out there at the site visit, is that I thought I understood that a concern from the community was the possibility that with the existing driveway remaining, that it's possible, or they want to ensure that the Guinevere Road would never become a connected roadway with Paquonicket Ave, or maybe even just through the existence of the existing driveway, it's possible that it will just be a unofficial access, you know, onto Paquonicket or from Paquonicket onto Guinevere. And so I think it sounded to me like there was a concern about that, and maybe increased traffic, and maybe there was something in the deed restriction. I don't recall that part of it. I don't know how we address that with keeping the existing driveways on Paquonicket Avenue.
Can I address that?
You may.
You know, we want to put a second driveway off of Guinevere Road and keep the existing access that we have. But I guess one of the suggestions I would have, first of all, I don't really believe that that would be like a shortcut between those two streets. It would be like driving through someone's backyard, through their driveway, past their buildings and houses. It to me would not make sense that someone would think that's a shortcut. But one of the things maybe we could do as a suggestion is not connect the two driveways, but have the Guinevere Road new driveway come in and then just not connect the other one and leave some kind of a space between the two driveways so there's no connection point.
And Mr. Roger, that is the idea we're going to suggest, and furthermore, you can actually erect some blocks or pylons to actually block anyone from trying to even go over the grass or whatever that would be.
If I may, I might suggest that the fire department might have a problem with that, though they might want to have it, if we did, you know, just to put a number out there, 10 feet of grass between the two driveways, perhaps the fire department might approve that more than putting out blocks, and you know what I mean?
That actually would be a violation of our zoning bylaw, where if you have two driveways, they need to be at least 30 or 40 feet apart, depending on different circumstances.
Okay.
And I think, well, okay, I'll let her read it to you. Amos, are you still going? Is there anyone else has any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one question. Just looking at this, once this is approved, you know, what stops, say, a small adjustment of these lot lines or something to allow for say 3 lots? If this were approved, I mean.
Well, I can address that. There wouldn't be enough frontage to do that. I believe, you know, I don't believe you can get a third lot with the frontage that's going to be gained by extending that cul-de-sac.
So
I'm not even
do you
sure.
have that measurement on what's the frontage of these 2 lots right now on the cul-de-sac, that is?
I I believe it's 180
Hold on.
feet.
How is that calculated?
There are some dimensions on there. If you go by the paper circle, see,
Right.
so it's length,
Okay.
either above the L is length, so that's 189.36 between the tick marks. So that is between the radius right there, right over to this, the midpoint, or not quite, over where it says proposed 120-foot diameter cul-de-sac, keep going up
Right.
there. So that, as I read this, right, Mr. Roger, that's 189.36. And then if you could scroll down a little bit, Stephanie, pull the plan down, then the length, what's the length of the remaining circle? Anybody see it?
137.
Oh, right, yeah, right there, 137.
Actually, that's
so you'd have,
diameter, that's not length.
Yeah,
That doesn't have a length.
it does, right.
oh, you're right, those are, yeah. So,
But if this is
Um,
189,
It's probably more than 300. I mean.
yeah, I was gonna say, there's more than 300,
obvious.
so, you know, that's
Right.
and, you know, so there's two, I would just jump in for a second, since we brought up that, you know, there's, as I see this, there's really two issues in no specific order. One is, listening to the presentation, from the applicant at the last meeting. I was listening, I became concerned once I learned they did not want to eliminate the existing driveways on the Quanticut. And as I thought, frankly, the residents on Guinevere brought up some cogent points. And, you know, in one time previously that I can recall, I guess two, we've allowed sort of this paper cul-de-sac, for lack of a better term. But in both of those cases, there wasn't future expansion possible. So this brings up the question of, you know, do we really want to, you know, and then someone at one point said, well, what if we expand or extend the cul-de-sac? But I would be concerned because folks have purchased properties on a cul-de-sac, and so to suddenly eliminate a cul-de-sac and move it to pick up one lot, I don't think is necessary. I'd rather see it done with one driveway. But I think that's a point we have to think of. What, you know, if we have over 300 feet of frontage, are we violating our own bylaw by allowing multiple driveways off of paper? You know, when we have things like common driveways and, you know, we have estate lot setups. So it's kind of a deeper, you know, so those are the two questions that I struggle with.
The other thing I'd like to point out is that Lot B, the existing lot, does have 189, but the new lot, Lot A, only has 150 feet of frontage. So
Yeah,
there's
but
no way
that's
you
what's
could get, there's no way you could get a third lot off of this cul-de-sac unless you went to the
right, but
zoning.
you could get a second potentially.
It wouldn't conform to zoning though, so you'd have to.
No, he needs to sign up for 2
One
lots
appeal.
total, right? So you couldn't really go 3 on this. That's what he's saying.
No, but if you eliminated the driveway from the existing house and just kept it on the Quanticut, then in theory, if you have over 300 feet of frontage, so you could get 2 lots off it potentially. There's other geometry that would need to be met.
Right, somehow reconfigured this area.
But it could, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I question if that's how we want to do it with a paper road. Because the best that I can recall, the 2 circumstances prior to situation that we allowed this, there was no future expansion other than what we were approving. There's future expansion possible, I should say. And I'm concerned with setting a precedent that we're allowing, you know, potential of a future expansion off of paper, which without that paper, it would be violating our bylaw.
If I could for a second, Aaron Waluka again.
Mm-hmm.
Would the board be satisfied with a deed restriction?
A deed restriction that restricts what?
Any further development. And to back up to your driveway thing, driveway being 30 to 40 feet away from the other driveway is perfectly fine. It was our plan anyways. But a deed restriction restricting any further development of any additional lots. on these parcels.
That's one way to do it if that's legal. Would that be, not sure if that would hold up. That's a question for people above my pay grade.
So I'm sorry, if we could just have Mr. Waluka repeat that. You're asking if there could be a deed restriction on both parcels to limit any or prohibit any future reconfiguration of the lots?
Not necessarily reconfiguration. If the board is concerned that someone may add an additional lot, figure out a way to make a third lot out of these two, if it is approved, then I'd have no problem with a deed restriction saying that it would not be reconfigured to add a lot using plot 33A and 33. I can't speak for any other properties.
Yeah. That sounds like something that needs would, if it's legal, would need consideration of what configuration someone might propose and then try to restrict the deed around those potential configurations.
The other thing, Stephanie, I guess, if this went to a definitive stage, you certainly, when you sign plans and approving the subdivision on the definitive subdivision plan, you certainly can limit this development to two-lot subdivision max forever, and no further development would be allowed. So that certainly could go into the approval.
Yeah, but that does not, we've actually had a case here in Easton where that didn't hold up. That was one of the first meetings I sat in on when I joined this board 16 years ago. So we can put that in a decision, but that there's already precedent for that not holding up. Let's jump back. Let's get off the additional lots for a minute. I'd like to talk more to the board, hear more from the board if there's more to be heard. Peter, we had two members that chimed in that they, if I understood correctly, weren't on board with the two driveways coming off of Guinevere. How do the other members feel regarding that? Is there a reason no one's answering?
The question is, do we have precedents to something like this being done? To driveways out of the cul-de-sac?
I can't recall in the years I've been on the board a situation just allowing a second entrance to existing lot off of a paper road.
So what I'm hearing of this additional driveway is the gain is more from a delivery standpoint. It makes it easier for packages to be delivered. And I don't know if we should be modifying our zoning to accommodate a delivery. That'd be my comment.
So I have a problem with the frontage being calculated on something that really doesn't exist. It's on paper. The frontage calculation.
Anyone else? Any
The
thoughts?
town frontage is on the cul-de-sac, and that is small.
Right.
If you want to adhere to what frontage is according to our bylaws on the cul-de-sac and how it's calculated perpendicular to the center and all that. It's kind of a trick in order to obtain the frontage. Geometrically, I mean.
I see a couple hands up. I see Wayne Champa, forgive me if I mispronounce him. His questions about flexible development. And Richard Lawler, well, I see his hand up. Mr. Lawler, if you have a question in regards to what we're
Yeah, I think he was
discussing
here the
now,
last one.
if you could,
Yeah, Richard Lawler, 22 Guinevere Road. My apologies, I did not have a question, I had a comment. Is it time for comment from neighbors?
well, go ahead. I was still with the board, but I'll let you do it.
Again, my apologies.
No, that's all, it's all good. It's all good.
You had your field visit. One of the big concerns that we had last time we were on was the characteristics of the neighborhood, and specifically the condition of the lot, 31R or 31A. The applicant, I'm sure you saw at the end of Guinevere Road, unless he cleaned it up for you, a large pile of industrial sized pallets, not even normal size that you see on a trailer, a big bus parked on the lot, in addition to all the leftover mill buildings from what it was before he took it over and it was changed to residential. Furthermore, you probably received from a neighbor a video, or at least an image, of a huge mobile home coming right down Guinevere Road off of his lot. We don't know where the mobile home came from, how long it was on his lot, whether it was zoned properly to have a mobile home on his lot, or what that's all about. But with respect to package deliveries, and he mentioned in his application during the previous hearing, big concern about safety and the inability to find his driveway coming off of Quantico. In the write-up that you received from Ann Grant, she pointed out the sequence of his driveway and his mailbox, and it's no wonder there's confusion. If one leaves Route 106, headed down for Quantico, you first come to the applicant's driveway. Next is the driveway for 31 Pequannock. That's followed by a telephone pole, followed by the mailbox for 31 Pequannock, followed by the applicant's mailbox. It's ludicrous, the sequence of the driveway and his mailbox. There's no way that anyone could ascertain that that mailbox with his address on it belonged to the applicant's driveway. They're nowhere close to each other. And the driveway itself is a dirt driveway with a very large cut in it, specifically swinging toward 106. Clearly, there's enough room in that driveway to have a normal cut and still have room for a mailbox. The mailbox would then be right adjacent to the driveway, causing no confusion at all for any delivery person, and certainly no confusion for an emergency vehicle. So I contend that there's absolutely no reason for this applicant to be allowed a Guinevere address so that he can have ease of delivery in the safety of emergency vehicles. All he has to do is move his mailbox.
okay, thank you. And why don't I see one more hand up, Dan Grant, if you want to let her. I would just ask, I know, I would like to have, build upon any further or any previous comments. I don't want to, we already have on the record all previous comments, so.
Sure, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah, we can, thank you.
So I won't.
Oh, if you could just identify yourself, name and address.
Oh, sure. Ann Grant, 43 Guinevere Road. I won't repeat anything said previously or what's in my letter, which I know you posted. So
Appreciate that.
My question is, if the proposal is there's going to be 40 feet of grass between the two driveways, how that could be enforced? What could keep this owner or any future owner from just driving across the 40 feet and wearing it down to act as a road, or, to put down some gravel to make it easy to pass as a road? I disagree with Mr. Rogers that anybody looking to avoid five corners wouldn't just drive right through if they owned that property or were friends with somebody who owned that property. So just asking about enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see in the chat, oh, no, never mind, that's different. Or I see a note from Ashley Birch. We live at 26 Lancelot Lane and we are opposed to this plan. So I'm assuming that's what we're talking about, this project.
There's 4 more people that have their hand raised.
Right, I'm just looking, so I see Suzanne Carey, let me call her up.
Okay, we need to promote Suzanne to panelist, and then she will have to leave as panelist herself after, I believe. She's running an older version, or he is running an older version of Zoom. You need to unmute yourself?
Is this who, Suzanne Carey, is that what we're saying?
Yes, yes.
Christopher Carey, 54 King Arthur Road.
Okay.
I asked a question in the last, and I know you don't, but about that easement, the equine and walking easement passes in front. Again, I was told that those can't be broken. I don't see anything broken. And how could he even put a driveway through the easement? Is my question.
Well,
didn't we determine that the
easement allows right of passage,
right,
and you'd still have passage presumably, and if it goes to the subdivision stage, then we'd make sure that the grade was such that it didn't impede passage.
So the easement allows the passage of horses. That's it, but that doesn't prohibit other uses.
Okay.
Thank you. Sure. Let's see, Richard. Let's Kevin Cunningham, is that for this one? Let's see, we have another chat. We'll wrap this up. So my name is Faye Doolin. I live at 23 Guinevere Road. I am opposed to the proposed Title 31 for Quantico Ave.
And I thought I just, yes, I just allowed Kevin Cunningham to speak, so.
Sure. Hi, how are you? Kevin Cunningham, 62 King Arthur. I just have one comment, one question. My comment is it does sound like approving a paper cul-de-sac, which is a new term for me, does sound like a bit of a rarity. It sounds like it's only happened 2 times in the past 16 years. So I think I'd like some clarity on maybe why this is being approved. And I guess my second question is, I think this applicant has submitted applications several times, at least once in the past 5-10 years. I'm curious what has changed in the zoning laws to allow this.
Okay, I just want to interject that nothing,
yes,
nothing is approved yet.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Motion. We are just deliberating and discussing. So just for clarity. And this is a preliminary plan. So even if we in some form of this vote to move it forward, doesn't ensure approval. Of course.
Yep. I apologize for asking.
Oh, no problem. That's good.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, so I'm just wondering, I want to jump in. So, I've heard our comments from the board, heard the comments from the abutters, heard the comments from the applicants on the presentation. What should we do, board? Should we continue this to the next meeting so we can discover the rights that can be handled? Do we need more time to think about this, or do we want to make a motion to approve, to recommend to go towards final, or to recommend against? I just want to check in and see where the board's at, knowing that we really do have a full agenda. And if we don't need to decide this tonight, we can certainly continue this. There's nothing that legally, there's no reason why we couldn't continue this, correct, Stephanie?
Correct.
So board members, like your thoughts. This is a complex one, so it's not like we need to. Looking for a little guidance from my teammates. See what you.
Well, I see it as like a couple of issues. I mean, one of them was a discussion about whether or not the existing Pequonnet driveway, I guess an address exists, meaning that it would have to be removed, I'm assuming, because otherwise you could potentially, cut through the lot or access the lot. And then the other topic was regarding the legality of potentially prohibiting this from becoming 3 lots through some sort of, deed restriction or something else. So, I mean, I suppose if the board thought it was worthwhile, if the owner or his attorney wanted to explore the legality, or our town council wanted to, then, I mean, perhaps it would be worth continuing. Otherwise, I don't really think I need any more information, but that's my thought right now.
Anyone else?
I have a question. Does the existing lot, where the foundry was, does the easement specify that is a utility easement or an access easement?
I can't tell from memory. But, anybody has a plan in front of them?
I'm sorry, what was the?
No, I meant like what's filed on the deed. That's like more for the applicant or as a representative.
For the existing
Is there
easement.
an access easement filed on the deed? And can you direct that to us so we can see it?
Well, that was another, we did not get a deed for the property. That was another one of my comments.
I have a generic question, maybe to you, Greg.
Okay.
There's a development for Lancelot Estate, and that was approved by the town, and there was a cul-de-sac there. And what we are setting as a precedent is that you can take any cul-de-sac and put driveway through and continue and go behind them. And I'm not sure that is the intent of what has been done until now, and I don't know how dangerous of a precedent that is. You can take any cul-de-sac and any development that we have in Easton, put driveways and develop behind it.
Yeah, right. I mean, we have one coming up where we actually suggested that the applicant maybe consider a variance just because it might just be a more straightforward process rather than trying to manipulate, the zoning bylaw to a kind of extreme extent. So it would just give the applicant, a chance to just put up together any more ideas for a couple of weeks and show us the access easement and the deed or whatever other legal instrument does that. And then
And I'm looking
Could
at
I
this.
just comment on Amos's?
Sure, go
comment?
ahead, Stephanie.
Generally, the reason a cul-de-sac has a stub at the end of it is to provide for access to abutting properties, if that over time is feasible and makes sense. I'm not saying that in this case, because the stub is there, the board should vote one way or another, but that is generally why that's there. A lot of communities require that you have an easement in the form of a little stub off the end of a cul-de-sac, so that connection could be made in the future.
Yeah, I think going back, we look in history in Easton, the last decade and a half or so, 2 decades. There has been efforts which have been supported and approved by the town at town meeting through the board level to find ways for folks to develop land that they have excess land. That's why we have the old term pork chop lots. That's why we came up with the estate lot zoning. That's why we came up with the common driveway zoning, ways to perhaps allow creation for additional families to live in this great town without additional stress and strain on the services by minimizing the development impact, hence the impact on the environment. So, in the past, we've looked at a few projects like this and said, okay, well, why make them go? You have people that purchased houses maybe recently or years ago, decades ago, on a cul-de-sac. And there's, I think it's safe to say there's a desire to be on a cul-de-sac. It sort of denotes, privacy and it could be an area, maybe more so in the old days, but, an area for kids to ride their bikes, things like that. So the thought was, okay, well, if you came off, we did a subdivision a few years ago. It was an extension off of a cul-de-sac. We kept the cul-de-sac, and an island was actually put in it to make the flow a little safer and more directional. And then the other two times where it was passed, it was, well, why go to all the expense and create all this, impervious surface when we can just allow a single driveway? What's, for me personally, what's tricky on this one is, okay, I'm looking to add that second lot, which already has an access. And I start to wonder, boy, I think we're really starting to stretch the purpose. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if legally we can say, okay, put a deed restriction in that this cannot be developed any further. I'm not so sure that would hold up, and we don't need to try to determine that tonight. So, personally, I think we either deliberate a little further and push this out to the next meeting so we can do a little research, or, I would have trouble voting to forward this tonight, just personally. That's just myself, not trying to sway anybody, but just trying to get a little sense of direction, because we do have a whopping agenda. We sort of need to move on here. So I'm at the mercy of this board.
I am in the same boat. And no one had asked this question, but there are two driveways going to Porcenic direction. So theoretically, the lots could have been configured in a way in which they don't need the one over here at all. But that's not the way it's presented. So you can always switch the direction. And very recently, we have on Center Street someone that reversed the direction of the house, so the frontage is toward the quiet neighborhood that provide to that house more value, because that's where the people want to live. So if this is an exercise in order to provide more value to the second lot there, I can understand it.
Okay.
If they are in the cul-de-sac, whoever can get more money.
Can I respond to the comment about the driveways?
Sure.
So we certainly could come off of Guinevere Drive with one driveway and fork off, so there wasn't two quote unquote curb cuts, I guess, if that was an issue. That's one thing we could also look at if that makes people happier.
Yeah, I started thinking about that. It's almost a moot point, because once that lot has frontage on a public way, you can't say you can't use that really either anyway. So, yeah, just in my opinion.
So, you guys think, so do you want to continue this to one more meeting to try to come to some consensus, or?
Yeah. I think we should give them a chance to, I don't know, I'd like to see the easement in a deed somewhere, right? So we can understand how that actually does.
Sure, and I wouldn't mind hearing from Tom.
If I could. They've heard some different views from us and from the, residents.
And I wouldn't mind hearing from town council in terms of a deed restriction, whether that was legal or not.
And town council is in tomorrow. I've already signed up to talk with them on some other items, so I'll bring these up.
Yeah, Greg. If you like, sorry, it's Aaron Waluka.
Okay.
I have the easement language in front of me. We will get it to you, but it's one sentence I can read if you like. This goes with both driveways. That the easement is to be used for all purposes for which streets or ways are now or may hereafter be commonly used in the town of Easton. So it is a very open easement language.
Okay, great. So I think, I think we're gonna wrap this up for now, unless anybody on the board or Stephanie have any more comments. And I think we'll continue this.
The 22nd.
Isn't it the first? Didn't we say the first?
Well, we suggested the first, but if this could wait to the 22nd, it could go on that meeting or.
Okay, oh, that's fine. Yeah,
maybe on the
sure.
first.
Yeah, we move to the 22nd, that's fine.
So moved.
Second, Stetson.
Suzanne, did you follow that gibberish on my part?
Peter and then Rob to the 22nd.
It was
Yep.
an inadvertent motion.
Yep, I got it.
All those in favor? Strange. Oh, I heard a second, right?
Yes.
All those in favor? Strange eye.
Jane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Belcher, aye.
Great, that's unanimous. All right, thank you one and all. We'll see you on the 22nd.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next up, so Peter, you're gonna have something to read, aren't you? We have a public hearing for 20 South Street, Old Forge Commons, a special permit for flexible development, number 20-209.
Whoever
Yes.
is talking could mute.
So, yeah.
Town of Easton notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on October 18th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on the following application received from William T. Humphrey and Kathleen M. Humphrey for a special permit under 235-37 flexible development of the Easton zoning bylaw for the creation of a 20-lot residential subdivision
20
at 20
lots.
South Street, to be known as Old Forge Commons, Assessors Map 44U, Lot
20
31.
lots going back there.
Hold on. Where is that coming from?
Remotely via Zoom. The virtual meeting link will be contained within the posted agenda at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. A copy of the application and plan may be viewed on the town website. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org.
Okay, thank you, Peter. So let's hang on. So where was that coming from?
I don't know. I'm looking to see who
Well, I
might.
see under panelists, there's a Barbara O'Donnell,
That's coming
Amanda
from Richard
Nastasia,
Laws.
Alice Chase.
Under panelist?
Yeah.
I don't see those people.
Oh, now they're gone.
Participants.
So,
Oh, well, hey, we got
They muted themselves now.
Frank Ryland. So, yeah, folks, if you're not speaking, I ask you to mute yourself. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to listen. Thank you, Peter, by the way, for reading us in. We're going to listen to a presentation from the applicants and the applicants' agents regarding the proposed project. We will listen to any comments and staff report from the Director of Planning. We will then entertain questions and comments from the members of the Planning and Zoning Board. And we will then open up for questions or comments from the public. I would ask that any questions or comments, we stay civil, we stay succinct, given that we have a long process, a long night ahead of us. And if the person before you, if your comments have already been, we don't need to really echo thoughts. We just need to continue to build on constructive thoughts. And we thank you for your cooperation in that. So to that, I'll turn the floor over, and I would ask that everyone identify themselves, name and address for the record when they speak. So Mr. Humphrey or Mr. Ryland, who's ever presenting, the floor is yours.
Good evening, board. This is Frank Ryland with Ryland Surveyors, here to represent the developer, Mr. William Humphrey, and his wife, Kathleen Humphrey. The subdivision, Old Forge Commons, is under the flexible development process. We submitted a preliminary plan to this board approximately a year ago, and at that time there was a site walk that the board members participated in. The subdivision, as stated in your reading, is a 20-lot subdivision. It is situated on approximately 16 1/3 acres of land, of which over 40% is going to remain undisturbed. The lots are all to be developed around the central portion of the property. They're on the westerly side. We have dedicated a 25-foot no-clear buffer zone to protect the abutting lots on the westerly side. On the easterly side of the subdivision, the lots stop considerably short of the property line. and it's common space or open space that's going to be surrounding the entire developed area on that side. We do have some wetlands on the property, and we have designed the subdivision to stay, and all construction, that is, the subdivision to stay 100 feet from the wetlands. The wetland boundaries have been approved by the Easton Conservation Commission, and we are staying completely away from them. The project will be serviced by municipal sewer from the new sewer line that the town has put in. All lots will also have municipal water, so it's the fully utility by municipal services. Mr. Hermano, Walter Hermano of Hermano Engineering, is also available tonight to speak to the drainage designs as to just how we will be meeting stormwater management. We certainly are prepared to respond to any questions or comments that the board may have, although I understand that all comments from the peer review have not been received at this time.
Okay. Are you all set, Mr. Radman?
For the opening comments,
right.
or,
Okay.
As I said, we'd like to respond to any questions or comments that the board may have.
Okay, great. Cancel. So, Stephanie, would you like to? I know we received your report today. I must confess I didn't.
Well, no.
Go ahead. Why don't you talk about it? I didn't.
Yeah, and again, I apologize. Just due to being out of the office unexpectedly for a week earlier, made it difficult. But so what I'm going to do is just go through where I have kind of comments that the applicant should address at some point.
And also, excuse me, Walter Hermano would like to enter the.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I didn't want to start to interrupt you, but.
No, I thought we might be missing someone else.
Good catch, Peter. I didn't see that till just now. It's tough with so many windows open on the screen.
Right, that's what I'm.
I'm looking for.
I think the longer we stay on Zoom, board members should be allowed. We should get a stipend for.
On mine, Stephanie, he's third from the bottom.
I've got him.
You got him. Okay.
I have him there. He should be joining any second now. Okay. So again, I'm going to go through. I organized my report. I talk about the master plan and Vision Easton and how this fits in with the master plan, the zoning, which is designated residential, which allows, of course, for single family residential use. Talk about the existing conditions. I won't go into that. Then I outline what the flexible development standards are. I'm not going to go through each of those, especially where by nature of the proposal, it meets the standard that has been established, but where there's a question or something that I feel the applicant should comment on, I will talk about that one. So let's see. The standard for preserving historical and archaeological resources, protect natural environment, including the town's varied landscapes and water resources. The lots are located to minimize disturbance to the natural environment. And as Mr. Rivlin pointed out, 46% of the parcel will be kept in its natural state as permanently protected open space. The narrative does indicate the existing dwelling will be refurbished, and the applicant has communicated verbally he intends to keep the existing historic house as a single family dwelling and will work with the Historical Commission on historically appropriate exterior rehabilitation. And I have a comment on behalf of the Historical Commission on what that appropriate exterior might include. Let's see, then we go down to, I want to talk about this, perpetuate the appearance of the town's traditional New England landscape. And we have the applicant agreed during the pre-application meeting. Is that me that's echoing, or is that someone who's not?
It's been happening while everybody speaks, so I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, okay. So the applicants agreed during the pre-application meeting to retain mature trees or plant other native shade trees along the first approximately 240 feet of the road. The board will remember that when we walked out there, that the planted trees there form kind of the sense of a lane, a country lane. And then a note that the subdivision rules and regulation and to retain other older growth trees throughout the site. The subdivision rules and regulations do require a minimum of 10 trees per acre with a minimum trunk diameter of 1.5 inches, with at least 3 of those trees along the front of each lot within 20 feet of the driveway. So those aren't shown on the plan, but I think that the applicant should talk to that. Let's see, talk about the open space. Then promote the development of housing affordable to low and moderate income households. The project will provide 2 units of affordable housing. That's one of the density bonuses they're taking advantage of. And a local initiative program / local initiative, a local action unit application to DHCD for the 2 affordable units, and identifying the parcel location of the affordable units should be provided. And we're also recommending as a condition of approval that the 2 affordable units be constructed and conveyed to the issuance of the, I have the 16th and subsequent building permits. So that's roughly 2/3 of the way through the project, and that's to ensure that those units get built and completed and still leave enough market rate units for the project to continue to be affordable and economic for the developer. I do in my report share or restate how the bonus lots were calculated. There are several plan deficiencies that I identified. I won't go through those. If Mr. Ryplen could just take a look and we could address that as necessary. Let's see, an environmental impact report was not provided, which is required under the subdivision rules and regulations. I mistakenly left a paragraph in there that does not belong, talking about natural heritage and map species. This is not in an area of critical environmental concern or mapped habitat for threatened or endangered species. And that is really pretty much the extent of my comments. I do have the comment from the Historical Commission about appropriate renovations.
All right, well, thank you. So what I want to do, before I throw it to the board, just quickly, because I've seen there's a couple questions or comments that have been up since the meeting commenced. And just a brief history, the last few years in Easton, we have looked for, as a result of the master plan, where we came off looking for diverse housing types. We came up with the flexible development tool, which the purpose of which is to help expand green and open space, help to promote low impact development, help to create more affordable housing in 2 ways, both large A by the affordable units that Stephanie spoke to, and small A, in this case, as Mr. Humphries has stated in his previous presentations, he's looking, these smaller lots and smaller houses so that younger families or empty nesters, just to open up the possibilities for different resident types. And in this project, we're looking at substantial addition of green space in a part of town that is really able to enjoy it with accessibility from walkable neighborhoods. We're looking at, as I said, creating the 2 affordable units. Also, really important, as a member of the Historical Commission, Mr. Humphries has agreed to preserve the historic Belcher house, which is a really fantastic example of kind of unique Queen Anne / shingled architecture. which the Belcher family was very prominent in this neighborhood. And nice to see that. Nice to see that saved. And it ties into the newly created sewer district. And as residents of the district know, this will help go towards the DIF, which was very important in reducing the sewer betterment fees. So this, it's nice to see a project like this, in my personal opinion, come along, as this really checks off a lot of the boxes of what we've been trying to do in town from a planning standpoint. So anyways, just a quick refresher, and that there's a couple questions up there. What exactly is a flexible development? And there was one question just later on we can get to it. It says, would this include removing the easement? And as I recall, there's an easement from this property to Quanticket, which will survive in place. Correct, Mr. Rivlin or Walt?
Yes, we do intend on preserving the existing easement that will be utilized to loop the water main. We do not have intentions of utilizing it for vehicular access to the property or any other means, but it will provide the utility looping that is required by the water department.
Okay, great. And I should add too that, you know, during our site walks and previous meetings with the board and the staff and the applicant, we've talked about how the site is really blessed with a number of large mature trees, and great care is going to be taken to pinpoint and save those that can. And it's really one of the benefits of sewer, that you don't have giant septic systems coming in where lots of vegetation must be removed as the grade changes or to install the system. So to that, board members, I know we're just at the start here, but any questions or comments for the applicant or Stephanie? Feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of what the chair just said. This project clearly checks off a number of boxes, and but the two that I kind of wanted to ask about in particular, one is the fourth factor under the analysis, which is the protection of the value of real estate in the area. And that's something that I questioned kind of at the very beginning of this process, and I'm wondering if the applicant has any thoughts in that regard.
I do, if I may speak.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Humphries.
So your question, Mr. Stetson, is, are you concerned that it would devalue the area? Is that your question?
It's a concern. It's more of a question. It's not, I'm not making a statement.
No. It's a fair question. These homes here being new construction, where my wife owns Humphrey Realty Group in Easton, and the business has been in Easton for 15 years or so. So she knows the market pretty well. You probably see her signs just about in every corner of the town. So my wife, Kathy, looking at this area here, the homes will be being new construction and being sewer, which is a big plus. In the lots, this is going to be, you're going to see a lot of first-time buyer, a lot of empty nesters want the first floor masters, etc. But these homes here, the value will be higher than the homes that are abutting the secondary market. So these are, she's pricing homes, obviously, when you have a house that was built in 1985 and people put it on the market, and it's on the market, let's say, for a number of $600,000. Most cases, the homes have 8-foot ceilings. They have the older cabinets in it, the older colored bathroom fixtures, the yellow tubs, the green countertops and stuff like that. So those homes are at that price point. The windows need to be updated. The siding's going to be updated. These are all new construction. So right away, they're going to be more expensive than the neighborhood around. So the homes are, but what I'm trying to do is build houses that emulate the area. I'm not putting in big 3,000 square foot houses here. I'm trying to keep these houses, they're going to be 3 and 4 bedroom, but I'm trying to keep them between 1,800 square feet up to like 2,400 square feet. So I want to be the same character of that area. Quanticket Street, South Street, I don't want people feel like they're, you live up in this new neighborhood with all the big houses. It's not like that. I'm not trying to create that marketplace. I'm trying to create sort of a middle type subdivision. But the houses, because they're new construction, will be more valuable or be more costly than the other homes that are around. Plus, they're all built to Easton. Easton's a stretch code town. So all these houses will have all those high-end furnaces, appliances, high-end insulation, which again, that bumps the price up on houses. So these houses to 2,000 square foot house, these homes to heat, your heating bill is $150 a month in the wintertime in these homes.
Yes, just a quick follow-up, and I appreciate the response. I remember early on in the process, you'd mentioned, or at least we talked about, what a traditional subdivision would look like here. And I'm curious, if you have any thoughts or rationale on how this type of flexible development would impact kind of the rest of the home values on South Street versus that sort of traditional large house kind of subdivision that you've been talking about.
Can you come at me a little different on that, Mr. Stetson?
I guess what I'm trying to understand is really how this flexible development subdivision impacts the property values versus, and I'm talking about the existing homes on South Street, versus a more traditional subdivision that is permissible under the bylaws as they exist.
I got you. I understand the question now. Thank you. So originally, when I was looking at what I could have got here, is initially I showed that I could have gotten 14 lots, but I really could have gotten 15 if I wanted to crowd it in here. Frank Rivalin and I worked on this, and we could have come before the town with 15 lots. So if we did those with the big lots, the 1 acre lots, the houses in here would be probably 3,000 to 4,500 square foot homes, something like I did in Lexington Estates, something like that. So you got swimming pools, some people basketball courts, etc. And the houses would be right now, homes like that would be start probably around 1.3 million, and they'd run up to $2 million. So, and they would sell. But that's not what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create something, what I do in town, what I've done in all the towns I work in, is I try to create something that sort of fits there, like we did at Winterberry. It's off the beaten path, and it's out there, and all of a sudden, bang, you drive out there, and there's a subdivision you never knew that was there, and it's just something we try to create, and it's different. That's what I want to do here. I don't want to come in here, take down all the trees, build these great big houses. It's just I don't think the town needs that right now. I think this is what the town needs. I know this is what the town needs. I feel that. So that's why I went at this. I could have went at this and built the 1.3 to $2 million houses. So you see that happening all over town. It's still happening. And unfortunately, here's the problem that happens with real estate. And it's always been a 1 to 3 sort of the way it works out is the land is always 1/3 the cost of the house. So if a lot goes for $300,000, the house has got to cost $900,000. It's got to sell for the numbers to work. My mother was a real estate agent back in the 50s, and it was like that back then. She used to tell me that when I first started building in the 80s, and it's still like that today. When I build a home, usually the cost of the land, I sell it for about 3 times the cost of what I paid for the land. So if these lots were $350,000, well, here's the thing what's happening in Easton now. I know of some lots right now that are selling for $500,000 in subdivisions in Easton. That's what they're going for. So if you have a subdivision in Easton, and I have a 14, 15 lot subdivision, these house lots would be going for $400,000 to $500,000. You might pocket that and start giggling, but if you want, I'll start mentioning the lots that are in Easton that have sold for that. Land is gone. It's all gone. So we have to be smart about what we're doing here. So if we want to be able to build more affordable houses by doing this flexible, I get the smaller lots. That way my lot prices go down and I can build houses for less money. And that's what I'm going at here. And that's when I first came before the town and talked to Mr. Strange and presented this to him, and he told me about the flexible, and I've been trying to do this in other areas. I tried to do this also on the land I had on Center Street. I just didn't have enough land. So I ended up having to build those great big new houses that you see on Center Street. So that's because of the cost of the land. So that's why, yeah, I could have gone the 14 lots, $400,000 lots, $500,000 lots. You're looking at houses for 1.4, 1.5. But do you guys as planners, is that what you want to see in this area? I think what we're doing is the right thing.
Let me ask one more question and I'll stop monopolizing the floor here. One of the things that I like about this project in terms of the existing neighborhood is exactly what you said, which is the preservation of a lot of the trees, a lot of the forestry. I think that in a lot of ways that this while there are a number of homes back here, it'll be less assuming than the type of subdivision that we were just talking about. One of the questions I had is, will there be any efforts to provide additional cover kind of as it is now, like closer towards South Street? I mean, even kind of protecting, not protecting, but almost like a buffer between South Street and, for instance, Lot 1?
Well, to go back to, first of all, because the only reason this is working like this is because we have sewer. If we didn't have sewer, that we wouldn't be able to save anything, quite frankly. I'm always be honest about what you're doing. So if we had to put septic systems in here, the lots would be cut out, completely gone, and then you'd have to come in and start putting your trees in. You'd have to start doing that. But I think right now it's premature on that. We can do some plantings there, but I think what we have to do, we can leave this open. I don't have an issue with that. But looking over at Lot 1 where you're commenting on, can we enlarge that a little bit by any chance, Stephanie?
Yep.
Thank you. I just have to look at the lot a little closer, please. All right, so if you see over there right now, Frank, you're gonna have to get in on this, help me out on this here. So I see some drainage there, or actually, Walter, can you comment on that drainage? Is that underground?
Yes, I can comment, Bill. Thank you very much. Hello, board. Walter Hermano, professional engineer for the record here for Bill Humphreys and Mr. Rybel and Kathy Humphreys. And the question, Bill, you have, is that underground? That is correct. We have to handle the stormwater that's going to be at this small end portion of South Street. So we have 2 catch basins, proprietary separator, and then underground, it'll daylight over here into a little bit of a swale. I'm sorry, a flared end swale. And it'll just trickle out onto the ground.
So that's all we see is that spillway out the end there, Walter?
That's correct.
So I can do plantings over there, correct?
You can do plantings over there. I wouldn't do them directly on top of the pipe.
No.
You can be on either side.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Stetson, on that over there, the only, when we do the plantings, we have to be just smart about it. There's going to be an easement there because there's a drainage pipe there, so we don't want to plant on top of it and have the town coming in, having us cutting these big trees down.
Sure.
So if we do any plantings over there, we'd have to do them up near where the stone wall is, which we can do. And I'd recommend doing something of a fir tree or something that's going to do very well there. Not something that's going to grow 70, 80 feet tall, but we can look at going with something, maybe something controlled of a white spruce or a blue spruce or stuff like that, and planting them along there to give Lot 1 a buffer. And I'm sure the neighbors across the street want the buffer too. I do too. I would do the same thing. I would do a tree buffer there. I do that all the time in my subdivisions. I plant trees all over the place to give the buffer because I want Lot 1. That's going to be a concern as me as a builder. People are going to look at it and they say, hey, my side yard, my backyard, I'm looking out on South Street. So people that are 21 and 25 don't want to be looking into their backyard or side yard either. So yeah, I would probably, I don't have a problem doing plantings, but I do it out of the drainage. So on the drainage, that would be the west side there and up near the stone wall.
Thank you.
Yeah, not an issue. I would do that probably anyway, because otherwise Lot 1, I think it'd be a little tough because you're going to go in there and you're putting in some drainage, you got to cut some trees down. So then you're gonna have to put trees back up. So if you want us to put that on the plan, I don't have an issue with that, that the developer wants to do some plantings there and maybe 3 different types of different, and you don't want to do, you want to do something about anything with, let's say, a fir tree, or I don't want to do pine. I like to do something as a nice tree in there.
Native species.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate the responses. Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem.
So while we're
Well,
looking
Bob
at,
took all the time. We have to adjourn the meeting.
Sorry.
yeah,
I'm teasing. That's usually me. It was nice to see. So, go ahead, Peter.
while we're looking at lot 1, see what happens when you zoom in on. Which way is the lot 1 house going to face the new road, or
Yes.
face house
Yeah.
right there?
Face the new road, yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's all right. But I mean, it sort of matches the other homes in the neighborhood, anyways, right? So how about that side? Maybe we can think about how that side could look. So it's just not a. I remember there was, Greg, some of you might remember that home that in a different part of town, people thought, oh, they made that house face the wrong way. So maybe we could think about how to kind of soften that edge there on that side.
No, everything would be facing the road throughout the subdivision.
Yeah.
I have a question for whoever is knowledgeable on the drainage on this development and how the drainage affect the neighbors. I think mostly on the southeast corner of the development, towards the condos, I believe, and toward the neighbors there. This area has very high water table, and maybe there is a consideration for neighbors not getting more with the changes that are being made to the drainage, that they are not going to be affected by that planning.
Yeah, almost, that is the reason for peer review. That is one of the things that they do focus on, is ensuring that there is not going to be an increase in stormwater off the site.
If I may, I could give them a quick rundown on what we've done for drainage analysis.
Please.
Oh, sure. For this project, there was 4 discharge points. One up to the north of your screen, one along South Street, one down here at the outlet of the constructed wetlands. And then there's also off the screen to the right, there's an infiltration basin, but there's some wetlands on the adjacent property coming onto the site. Well, the 4th discharge point is down here. Those discharge points remain pre and post development, and we have controlled drainage, treated it and infiltrated it such that we have reduced the amount of water that is leaving the property at all 4 of those discharge points. So we have a net loss. We have a negative amount of water compared to the existing conditions. So there should be no increase in runoff heading towards any of the abutters. That's it.
Well, also, you notice, Mr. Kenham, if you notice with the houses, all the homes have roof drains too. You'll see like the 4 boxes all around the home. So that's another thing that we're doing too, is controlling the water from the runoff of the homes.
Okay, board members, any more questions at this time?
This is going to be a private road, right?
It is, yep, as required by the bylaw. Okay, so if I'm not hearing anything from the board members, I'm going to open this to the public. Last chance, board members, not that you can't speak later.
Yeah, is the open space will be shared with the neighborhood? They could walk to that, or because this is a private road, that access is
Well, why don't we talk, so we have options as a board, how we would like the open space handled. And in any event, whether it is deeded to the Conservation Commission or whatever the board determines, yeah, we would require public access in perpetuity. I think that's actually state law if it goes to conservation, right, Stephanie?
Hey, Mr. Strange, can I butt in for 1 second? I just jump in?
Sure, yep, go ahead.
I think the public needs to understand, they hear private way. So they think when they hear private way that they're not allowed to go in there. They don't that's not, can you explain, or do you want me to explain what the purpose of the private way is?
Yeah, I'll take, because I was going to, so yeah, the purpose of the private way basically is so that the construction and the upkeep is the responsibility of the developer and then a homeowners association.
Right.
And I had one of the residents, actually 3 of the residents, contact me over the weekend asking, they were concerned it would become a gated community. And I said, well, no, this board would not allow that. The fire department would not allow that. And that is, that's a violation of our bylaws. And that will not happen. I'm assuming that's what you're trying to get to, Mr. Humphrey. But
yeah, I think
private just means who takes care of it.
People think being a private way, it's sort of like you see in Florida, a lot of the private communities. In other words, you can't get in there unless you know somebody in there. But they don't understand the purpose of the private way is so the people that live in there have to take care of the road. They're responsible for it, and that's why you create an association, because monies are put in. So when the road does deteriorate, the people that live there are the ones responsible for fixing it, also plowing it, etc. But it's still more like it's still a public way. Everybody can drive in there, do it up. But the reason for doing this is to maintain the road. And a lot of people are thinking, being private, I can't walk my dog down there, etc. You can do whatever you want in there. It's public. It's a public way, but it's privately being taken care of by the association.
And I think that, if I could, just to I think that ties in a little bit to Bob's question earlier. It's no secret that I've designed and sometimes built homes the last 40 years of my career. But what I really like about the flexible development is it really gives an opportunity to not only protect the environment a little more, protect the green space. It really lets us tie a proposed project into an existing neighborhood. Each piece of land, each neighborhood has its own characteristics. And I've always, I've lived on Pequantucket, about a mile from this site for 30 plus years. And I've always loved reveled the South Street neighborhood. It was such a hidden gem. And even prior to my years of being on the board, I used to think, oh boy, I hope that, if that ever gets developed, I hope it's done in a sensitive way. But we didn't really have tools for that. If you were allowed a subdivision, but here, I look at this and I see, well, the additional open space in the sidewalk. So that really expands that South Street neighborhood. This doesn't even become a thoroughfare because it's a cul-de-sac. It saves a really important historic structure. And honestly, in a part of town that hasn't had a lot saved. Northeastern Center, given how rich it is in resources from the Ames family, seems to get all the publicity and all the attention. But you look at within the next 10 years, we're going to see Route 106 really improved with sidewalks and sitting areas and green space. The park at the end of Pequantucket is now being considered for really a revitalization. Some exciting plans there. Mr. Lincoln's project, when and if it's approved, will add a set of lights to the neighborhood, which will really help. And we saw earlier tonight, because of the zoning that we passed last year, the last 2 years, we're really going to start to see an improvement and an enhancement of the historical residential neighborhood that abuts this on Foundry Street. So, I see a property value improving substantially for this neighborhood. But more importantly, I see quality of life, in this neighborhood really improving. Added amenities for the neighbors, and added amenities for the town. Anybody in town can enjoy the open space, and to be able to drive or walk down a subdivision where have preserved a really unique structure that has a great history that was vital to this area, and houses that are going to fit into. We've spoken this board, myself, Stephanie, we've spoken with Ms. Humphreys many times regarding the subdivision, and it really is. It's nice to see. It doesn't happen often. It's nice to see someone who is looking to actually create something that fits into the context of the neighborhood. That was the goal of the flexible development, and it's hard to get there. But he's right. He could have 15 lots in here. He could. There's no land left in Easton. He could sell these for huge houses. But I frankly think the neighborhood does better from a value standpoint when the new properties that go in are keeping in sort of the context of the existing neighborhood, and large trees are saved. I've built a lot of homes through the years, and you go in, if you wipe out all the trees and then build the house, it's never the same. When you're able to save existing, mature 60, 80, 100-foot trees, people come up and say, "Oh, I love your landscaping." That always cracked me up. People like, "All we did was save the big trees." But there really is a difference, and the aesthetic of this neighborhood is I think really going to be enjoyable and really benefit the neighbors. So, anyways, sorry, I've been quiet all night, but I went on a little bit.
Mr. Chair, so I agree. This is attractive, and there is access to the open space. It will give value to the neighborhood and to the town. So that is not discussion. We need to make sure that really happens. Sure,
and it's nice to see affordable units created in single family homes. I mean, it's no secret. A lot of folks in town have had their fill of apartments, and whether that's good, right, or indifferent, is not relevant for tonight. But it's nice to see, architecturally correct historical homes added in a wonderful existing neighborhood. So should we?
That would probably bring diversity. That is something else that is.
It brings all sorts of positives. So if the board's okay with this, I'll open this to the public. I was going to start by just reading a couple of the comments, but is just anybody else on the board before I do that? No? Okay. So quickly, I just want to, I saw a couple here regarding the subdivision. What is meant by flexible development? Would it include removing the easement? We spoke to that. Restricted development, is it possible to restrict building any thoroughway from Guinevere to Paquanticus to the new subdivision? That's not possible because the back of this, the northern end of this proposed subdivision is all open space, so that can't happen. Does the 25-foot buffer zone become enforceable or regulated by the town? That's a good question, Stephanie. I'll give you the hard question.
Does the buffer zone become enforceable or regulated by the town?
Right.
Actually, yes, because it's part of the zoning. So in fact, I had someone at one of our other flexible developments who wanted to clear in the buffer zone of their backyard. And I told them, no, they could not do that after being told by, I believe the zoning enforcement officer communicated that to them, as well as the developer. So that doesn't mean someone might not cut a tree or something, but then we could take action to have them replant.
Then Erin Gianni asks 27 Paquanticus. Can you please clarify on the easement from Paquanticus that you mentioned? Where is this located? What will it be used for? I believe you indicated it was related to a water loop. Mr. Humphreys, Mr. Carmelo, Mr. Rivlin, one of you guys want to take that?
Frank, that's probably yours, Frank.
Yes, the purpose of that is simply to run the water line through there to give a loop water system. It's one of the water department's requirements is to minimize or eliminate dead-end runs of water mains. That will allow us to loop it back out to Paquanticus Avenue. We have no intention of utilizing that right away for any other purpose. We have no intention of utilizing it for access or anything but the water main looping.
Okay, and the last question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, so we're talking.
To show where it is. Yeah,
we're talking. This is the easement right here.
Yes.
That is correct, and it goes all the way out to Paquanticus Avenue.
Right. You can see the north arrow, which is that red running left to right. That's roughly the direction of Paquanticus. It's a little further up, but that's just to the person that asked that question. And Last question from Rob Bruce in the chat anyways. Can the 25-foot no clear buffer along 16 South, 15 Pequanticut, and 19 Pequanticut be increased to 50-foot 0 inches? We as a board can't require that. The bylaw requires 25. That's my partial answer. Anybody have anything they want to add to that? Hearing none, I'll take that as a no. Let's see. And, one last one, then I'll jump out to the audience. Sophia, 34 Genevieve Road. Who owns the open space once the development is completed and all lots sold? Stephanie? I answered that once, probably bad.
Yeah, and you talked about it earlier, and I meant to put that in my report. That needs to be determined. It can be conveyed to the town, under the care and management of the Conservation Commission as permanently protected open space, and Mr. Humphrey is familiar with that process. It can be turned over to a homeowners association, again for perpetual protection as open space. And infrequently, but there are open space parcels in town where they are conveyed to a land trust, such as the Natural Resources Trust. Usually the easiest is either the homeowners association or conveying it to the Conservation Commission. I don't know if Mr. Humphrey has had any thought on that and what their preference would be. And I don't know if there's been any communication as yet with either the land use planner, environmental planner, the conservation agent, or the Conservation Commission on that front.
I would probably, since I've worked with the Conservation Commission before, and I like what they do around town with the trails and things that they've done before. They work with, I really like some of the stuff they did, one off of Lincoln Street there, and they got some of the Eagle Scouts to go in and.
Right, the Flyaway Pond area.
Yeah, I that's why I like working with the conservation, because they seem to, they sort of finish what they start.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that against any of the other boards that could get this. I'm just sort of partial at one time being on the board and seeing what they do. That's who I would like to probably go towards, but I'm open to any ideas. I just have had pretty good results with them. They do a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to jump on that, I mean, of course, this is the board's decision. We haven't discussed it yet, but I like the continuity that dealing with the Conservation Commission allows. You know, there's a lot of land in this proximity, of this project that they control. And I think, I know a lot of the neighbors have asked me, both just privately and during neighborhood meetings and site walks and interrupting my margarita by the pond, that they would, they're just concerned that we maintain the access to it. And I think if the town controls it, then we don't have to worry about it. Any homeowners association that may not understand the rules quite as much, and it just seems like that could get messy. But that's a decision for all of us to make going forward. So at this point, why don't we? I see there's more questions about Bamboo. Let's open this up to the audience. Just a reminder, I'm going to request that you give your name and address for the record, and that just be mindful. We've answered many questions from you previously, and then we enjoy that. That's not a complaint, but let's try to progress on to new questions that haven't been answered, and just try to keep it a little succinct, as we do have, we're only about halfway through our agenda. So with that, why don't we, first one up I see is Dale Carrister. If Stephanie, you want to allow him in.
Sorry about that.
And then after Dale, we'll do Maria Wilson.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Dale Carrister, 21 South Street.
I'm one of those folks, along with Maria across the street, who looks out over the property. I'm looking at that, what will be lot 1. And by the way, Mr. Humphrey, you had the water department over here about half an hour ago checking on something on the water main at the foot of the driveway. I'm not sure what they were doing, but in any event, I'll enumerate the items, and I'll try to be as quick as possible that I'd like to address. And I've undertaken to try to solicit input from the neighborhood. Of critical importance is the public access issue that everybody talked about. We would like to have that land conveyed to the Conservation Commission, and also at a minimum to have a public access easement. I understand that under the zoning bylaws, one of the options is that the property can, open space can be held by the neighborhood association. Purely from a matter of perception, that makes people very, very nervous that at some point in the future. So Mr. Humphrey, I appreciate your favorable comments about the Conservation Commission holding the land. We would very much like that to happen, and also confirm a public access easement. The principal benefit in many ways for the folks around here is to be able to take their kids out for a bike ride on the street and take the dogs out for a walk to the conservation land in the back. Second, on the issue of the easement that was referenced in the back going over towards Peconicut, speaking for those folks who have property over in that area, I think there might be some concern, regardless of present intent, that could be used in some way for some purpose in addition to the access for the water loop going forward. So I would request that the board consider some type of a restriction about the manner of use of that easement in the future. Second, on the drainage issue, and this is directed both to Mr. Humphrey and to Mr. Hermano, the properties in this area do have extreme high water table, with many of the properties, including my own and many of the adjoining properties, running sump pumps for quite frequently. I have gone through the drainage plans in some detail. I take some comfort from that. But a lot of that is theoretical, and I would ask that you consider also providing some as-is measurements, if you will, of groundwater measurements over time, so that there could be some confirmation in the future to go to evaluate against that baseline, so that we know, in fact, it's not actually exacerbating any of those problems. Issue number 3, on the density bonus, where there's been a request for 2 additional units with respect to a prior donation, I would ask that Mr. Humphrey and the board provide full public access to the information regarding the circumstances of that prior donation, and also from the board's perspective to make sure that the intent of the bylaw provisions about the benefit of the prior donated land actually is evaluated in full, to make sure that that prior donation actually is sufficient benefit to warrant increasing the density for this neighborhood. I do think there's some ambiguity in the bylaw, number 1. And number 2, I think there's some sense of the neighbors here that it seems a little unfair that when you donate a parcel of land over in an area where I believe it was near the power lines, that the added density input, or excuse me, impact will be felt by another neighborhood. So we'd ask that that information be made available for consideration by the public at large. On the issue pertaining to the Belcher house, the house, we'd like to make sure, again, that that's baked into the plans, that nothing can be done in the future that would remove that house, because that's another principal benefit to the neighborhood here, you know, the value of that home to the area. And then finally, there are a lot of young families now moving into the neighborhood here with young kids. I was watching earlier today with one of the neighbors out with a stroller and taking their child out. We'd like to make sure that the additional near tripling of traffic on the street is accounted for in some way, whether it's signage or otherwise, so that it preserves that same kind of bucolic country feel that it currently has. And thank you for your consideration of those issues.
Thank you, Mr. Carrister. I'll let the applicant reply.
Sure. So first of all, with the reason the water department was there out front of the lot was the water was shut off a week ago. So the reason they were at the property was not for my benefit or anything. So I hope that helps with that, Mr. Carrister. They weren't there for my property, but water's been shut off. So the Regards to the land that I donated to the town, that could have been a 4-lot subdivision I could have got in there, but instead what I did is gave all that open land to the town and only built 1 lot. So I ended up doing, I didn't want to hurt the density of that area over there. So I didn't want to go through the putting in that many more lots. So I could have added, by doing this, if I wanted to get real technical, but I don't need to do that because the law doesn't require that, I could have got 3 more lots. And I actually could have got even more lots in this subdivision if I wanted to, but I didn't. I felt that the 20 was sufficient to make this work properly. So I just did what the law said. I donated the land and I got the extra land from doing that. But I could have gotten more lots if I wanted to, but I didn't go that route. I didn't want to, as they say, being a developer, like one of the pigs that are out there and try to chase as much as I can. So with that. But regarding the water table, we already did do that. Walter Hermano, that's what he does for work. We went out there and we did test pits all over the land. And what he does, he's a soil scientist, and he goes out and he's already done all of that. So you're concerned about the water table. Back years ago, the way they used to do is they used to do what you're calling monitoring it. Unfortunately, monitoring the water table, Mr. Hermano will clarify this, but monitoring the water table is not the right science. It's by the soils. Mr. Hermano, do you want to step in on that, please?
Yeah, sure, Bill. You are correct. We use what's called modeling to determine the high water table. And we conducted test pits across the lot and in each of the proposed infiltration areas, the constructed wetlands area. So we have a determination of high groundwater per the state standards. It's a very conservative determination, and it was taken during the wet season. The models are historic levels of groundwater that may or may not be there every year, but they have been in the past at a certain elevation, a high point, at sometimes sufficient enough to cause oxidation of the soils, and then the water recedes. So we've taken the high point across the site for each area of stormwater management structures.
So if you understand what he's saying, modeling, so what they're not doing is not going by the water table because the water can go up, down, up, down. So what they're doing is they're going by the soils that are left by what the water generates in the soils and creates like oxidation and rust lines, et cetera, because of the different types of soils that are there that are more tight, that will hold the water there longer, which is sort of like a false water table, but that's what you have to go by now. So that's what they've been doing now for a few years, and it gives you an accurate water table. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even up into the 90s, they were doing the monitoring by, they'd put observation tubes in the ground, and people would go out there and they'd check it in August, they'd check it in October, and they, oh, the water's down 8 feet. Next thing you know, you build a house and you got 3 feet of water in the basement. So that doesn't happen anymore because they're going, as we're going much more, the conservative part is going by these soils, and that's why you'll see in most new subdivisions, you'll see that the roads are higher and the drainage is higher because of what we have to go by the water table now, which is the soils, not the water. It's the soils and what the evidence of the water leaves. But thanks, Walter. But the other thing is, when we look at this this land here, the site for traffic there, I know you're saying that it's tripling the traffic. When they do traffic studies, this would not be tripling the traffic, but I don't feel really, if they want us to do a traffic study, we will, but you've got in both directions, you've got over 800 feet of vision. I don't think there's any subdivision in Easton that has that. It's the best vision I've seen in subdivisions, and I've been doing this for 45 years. But that's not how they, just because there's 20 houses in there does not mean it raises the traffic by tripling the traffic of the neighborhood. That's not how it's done. If the board wants me to do a preliminary traffic study, I will, but it's just you guys are the planners, you know, this is a very low impact area for traffic. And plus you're getting a traffic light down at Pequannock Street at the end there, which is going to help also. But this subdivision is not going to be tripling the traffic in this neighborhood. I don't know if I covered everything. There's quite a few things Mr. Carrister mentioned. But yes, on the land given to the, I know the other notice I noticed was the note I saw here was I think so also, what he was saying, don't give the land to the neighbors to, the open space for the neighbors to handle. I think what happens is you have too many different opinions of it. That's why I think the conservation would do a great job by taking over this land. I hope I covered everything. If there's anything else I can comment on, please. I would love
I
to.
think it was just on the easement, maybe we could just like restrict that in our decision or something like that. Is that?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the way to handle it.
If I may just respond briefly, I don't know if I'm still able to be heard.
Go ahead.
Okay, so just thank you for all of that feedback. I appreciate that. And Mr. Herman, if I understand correctly, and also Mr. Humphrey, there's some data points in terms of what that current high water table is. I think that'll give some comfort to folks so that were there to be some problems in the future, and I don't expect that there would be. It looks like it's a very comprehensive plan. There's at least a baseline to compare it against. And as far as the traffic is concerned, what I'm really looking for, not so much as a traffic study per se, is just perhaps more some additional signage, because it's a tripling, and I apologize for the mischaracterization. It's really a tripling of the number of homes accessing South Street. Obviously, that doesn't take into account the folks who do cut through the area here. They're not that many of them, but they're certainly there. And as to my initial comment, Mr. Humphrey, I was just trying to put a little levity in the situation. I was not trying to suggest any issue about the water and so forth, but as we were listening to the hearing, I'm watching the water department out there checking things. So I wasn't trying to imply that there was any issue particular to your property, but they were out there. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So I just want to interject a little bit because in previous correspondence or calls I've received or meetings we've had with the neighbors, there's been talk of the one story was passed on that many times cars come down Pequannock, take a left onto South Street, and then drive straight into the existing Belcher estate, and then back up. And and there's certainly no substitute for folks that live there. Mr. Anderson and I could wax poetic on all the accidents we've seen on the curb in front of our house. So I would, as I've told the folks, Mr. Humphreys isn't responsible for South Street out there, but you can't really just start putting things up in the town's layout. But between the Stephanie, the director of planning, in our process, and the board, we hear your concerns, and during this process, if there's a sign or two or three that we feel is appropriate, that can certainly be presented to the DPW, I guess, right? The Traffic Safety Council.
Traffic safety, yeah.
So we can certainly help you along those lines. We would look for y'all to tell us, looking for you all to, express what you think the issues are, and we can certainly try to help out. While the focus is on your neighborhood, this is the time we can try to improve things while we have a say. So, thank you, Mr. Carrister, for your thoughtful questions, Mr. Humphreys, and to all for your answers. I believe next up is Maria Wilson. Stephanie, if you want to prompt that, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. This is Rob Wilson. I hope you can hear me okay.
Greetings. If you could just give us your address for the record, please.
Sure, 16 South Street.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm the lucky guy that has the driveway that forms into a four-way intersection with this new development, and we're very concerned about having to back out into the traffic. So what we were hoping to do was to create a drive-in, drive-out situation where we could circle around and land on the new road and then drive out, or vice versa. But I've come to understand that because it's an association, there'd be a fee imposed for me to be able to do that. And I know the town saves some dollars by making it a private road. So if it was a regular town road, it wouldn't be an extra expense to me. So just hoping that is there something that can be worked out with that? Because it is a dangerous situation for us and we're very concerned about it. So I'd like your thoughts on that.
What is the fee that we're referring to?
So I don't know the order of magnitude of the fee, but because it's a private road and
All right, yeah, I meant what type of fee, I guess. I don't know.
Who's imposing the fee?
Association.
I'd have to join the association and pay part of that fee to use that roadway. Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Can I
Why
step
don't
in
we-
on- Can I step in on this, guys, and tell you I had a conversation with Mr. Wilson today. He called me and he asked if he could enter his, from his parcel on, if I would put a curb cut in for him and a driveway entrance into his property from my road, if I would do that for him. And I said, well, if you're coming into a private way, and you're going to be accessing a private road that people are paying in to take care of, then you would have to, if you're going to access it, then you'd have to become part, that parcel would have to become part of the association. And furthermore, and the reasons why, and if that happens, is because if you're going to be entering through the association, through their private road, what's going to stop you from driving tractor trailers in and parking them on your property? So these people have this brand new subdivision, and here we are talking about controlling traffic, et cetera. But what would stop somebody if he wanted to put tractor trailers, come into the private road and go through the curb cut and park on that property? So if he wanted to do that, he would have to join the association, and there would be deed restrictions off his property if he wanted to go that route. This is just something he talked to me about today. And this is the conversation we had. I'm not saying that I'm charging him anything, but I'm saying if he wants to come in off of a private road that 20 people are paying a fee for to maintain, and another person that's not part of the association starts bringing loaders and excavators and tractor trailers and start running over and destroying the road, of course he's going to have to fall underneath the regulation of everybody else in that subdivision.
Yeah, so I mean, as we go through this, we're gonna try to see how we can work with the neighbors, right? We're gonna work on maybe some landscaping buffers within reason, but not through drainage pipes, obviously. And maybe that's a big ask for Rob here, but I mean, we can look at the plan later on. So you can't restrict the deed or restrict the easement or something, so you could use it as a driveway, but not a tractor trailer access road.
Exactly.
Yeah,
if he beats up on this road that these people, these 20 homeowners are paying for, you guys as the planners, that's not right.
Okay, well, yeah, right. So we'll listen to all the neighbors and we'll see what their ideas, and we'll work on this project with everyone, right? So, okay, that's my plan.
Yeah, and I think we should, Stephanie should probably have a discussion with town council too.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, it would seem fair, but certainly I can.
Right, I'm just wondering if there's any, just anytime we mix the two, sort of existing into a.
Right.
I just want to make sure that we're legally doing, if anything.
Yep.
So, okay.
Correct. Well, thank you very much. Bill, I appreciate that. I'm just, just trying to come up with a solution that's fair to everybody.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
And I just want to interject in case you all think I'm strange, but my background is the Belcher estate, a picture from 1890, and that lawn tennis court is right where the bend in the road is. So you can see the house there. You can barely see the house there to the left. And I remember when we toured it one time, we saw the foundation for the old windmill, which is there. So can't help it. I'm a stickler for history. So
very nice.
I have 5 pictures at we'll have one or 2 pictures at each meeting. So. Anyways, I promised the historical commission I would do it. So. And a thank you to Carl Holmander for making those public and letting me find those. Okay, so do we have, we had Rob, we had Dale. I don't see any more hands up. Do we have any more written questions? No, we answered that. And okay, one more. Last question I see, Jennifer Carroll, and forgive me, Jennifer, if I butchered your name. What is the drainage system going to be made of? Can you provide an example of this drainage you intend to use? What is the circular area behind lot 1 and behind 19 Lancelot?
All right, I can answer that.
Circular area behind lot 1.
I don't see anything. I don't see a circular area.
Oh, go ahead, Walter. I think that was Walter.
I think Was the question, what type of materials are we using to construct?
Yeah, what is the drainage system going to be made of? Can you provide an example of the drainage you intend to use? And then what is the circular area behind lot 1 and behind 19 Lancelot?
Okay, I'm not sure where, I can't see 19.
Oh, 19 Lancelot, see right there?
Yeah.
Down here?
Right
Oh,
there.
that's a.
The drainage.
Okay,
Probably
let's see
retention
that one first.
Sure.
This is an infiltration basin, which takes the runoff from the far end or the upper third, if you would, of the roadway. And we have a sediment forebay. Sorry, backtrack. We have catch basins to a proprietary separator, takes care of pollutants such as oils, greases, and sediments with high efficiency. Goes to a sediment forebay, which further reduces sediments, allows it to settle. Trickles over a spillway into an infiltration basin, which is set 4 feet or more above the water table. It's allowed to infiltrate into the ground at that point. This particular area of the site was also utilized to decentralize the stormwater management system and gain some infiltration. In addition to dry wells for all the roofs, the soil types in this area were a C-type soil, which is marginally, it does pass waters, but better than the D-type soils, which is the least conducive to passing water, which is most of the site. And this controls all the stormwater that's coming off the upper part of the road to a point where it's less than what's already coming from that site in that direction prior to any development. The soils in this.
No, she said, let me jump in. She said she meant lot 7.
Lots.
So you answered the question.
Oh, that's lot 7. Yeah, okay.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but great. Well, thank you, Walter. So then there's a one last question from Fran Masters, 36 South Street. What is the timeline for this project? Well, the planning board process. This is, we held preliminary. We held public hearings on a preliminary subdivision about a year ago. I mean, we did a site walk right around Christmas time, so maybe 10 months ago. This is our first public hearing on the the final plans application. I would imagine we are going to have at a minimum 1 or 2 more meetings to review, revise before we took a vote. Having done quite a we did a lot of work up front with the public and with the applicant on this, so that can help expedite it. And then, Stephanie, I'll defer to you. Does this need to go to Concom?
No.
No. So once we approve
I think lot 4, when lot 4 gets developed, they will need to go to the Conservation Commission, but unless all work and all clearing, but is outside of the buffer zone. But all the road work is outside of the buffer zone.
So assuming we will probably vote on this in I'd say 1 to 3 meetings, just depending on what peer review and what happens there, and what anything else Stephanie comes up with, and then us if the project were approved by the board, then there's a 21-day appeal period, and then they would have right to start construction. If the board didn't approve, then the project wouldn't commence. So that's.
Well, they'd still have a 21-day appeal period.
That's correct. Yeah. Anyway, so hopefully that answers that. And I think unless knowing that we still have another public hearing to go, and we're almost 3 hours into this, and I think this is a great start. And knowing that we're still waiting to get the responses from I would look at this point, I think, to continue, unless anyone on the board or the applicants or Stephanie had anything they felt they needed to add.
Yeah.
And then my question would be, so would we continue this to the 22nd, or would we continue this to the next?
How about the next meeting?
Yeah, which was the 1st, is that what you said?
Well,
I'm not sure yet.
Right.
That was suggested. Well, do you want to continue it to that, and then we can always ask for a continuance if we don't hold that meeting, push to the 22nd?
Yes.
Or are we?
Make the motion.
Are you waiting for a lot of information, Stephanie, or we're?
No, we're really waiting. I mean, again, some responses to my comments, but they weren't, I don't think they're a heavy lift. And then we're expecting the report from Beta Group the end of the week for the stormwater review.
So Bill and your team, would you guys like us to continue this to the 1st in 2 weeks, but knowing that there is a slight chance we would be canceling that meeting and then would push out to the following meeting after that, 22nd?
I'm fine with that. How are you guys doing? You guys all right?
I'm fine with that, Bill.
Okay, Frank?
Yes, I would suggest continuing to the next meeting and then being prepared to continue out if Beta Group has more comments and we can address within that time quickly.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to continue this.
Motion to continue to the next meeting.
November 1st.
November 1st.
Second, Stetson.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Strange, aye.
Jane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, I.
Sarah Guy.
Okay, Mike.
Great. All right. Well, thank you to Mr. Humphreys and his team. Thank you to all of the residents that participated. We appreciate it. It's an important part of the process. And like we say, so next, Mr. Humphreys and his team will be coming back on November 1st, unless we as a board have to cancel that meeting. Your best bet would be to check in on the town's website. The top page, front page always has the calendar. Or you can contact the planning office if you had any questions. We appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Hey, guys, good luck with it. I know you got a long night tonight. You guys are doing a great job, but long night. You guys will get it done.
Thank you, Bill.
Red Sox.
Yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.
You too. What'd you say about the Red Sox? Are they up?
Oh, yeah, they're on.
Yep.
Yeah. I just checked it on my browser. I hear some noise in the other room too, though, so yeah.
Are they? Last time I checked, it was 0-0.
Get your meetings going. Let's go. Get home.
We are home. Okay.
Thank you.
Hold for a public hearing. Peter, you'll be reading us in again.
Yep, you ready?
58 Mill Street, Old
Yeah,
Ridge Estates for a definitive subdivision. And Owl Ridge Estates, and Owl Ridge Estates for a special permit for an estate lot, 21-.
So the town of Easton notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-TMGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, October 18th at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on the applications received from KGM Custom Homes, Inc. 1, the definitive subdivision for the creation of a 6-lot subdivision at 58 Mill Street to be known as Owl Ridge Estates, Assessors Map 6R lots 20 and 21. Special permit, state law under the Easton Town Code zoning, section 235-43 to allow the creation of a state lot for lot 3 of the Owl Ridge subdivision. This meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom. The virtual meeting link will be contained within the posted agenda at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. A copy of the application and plan may be viewed on the town website. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org.
Thank you, Peter.
And I believe Michael O'Shaughnessy is here on the proponent side, and I tried to let him into the room. I don't see him in the.
I'm here, Stephanie.
Okay, all right.
Red Sox are up 6-0. Wow.
Is there anyone else who's joining us from the applicants?
Yeah, Frank Rybelin, and I
have
think
Frank.
the engineers here, Deshang Wen. Is he here, Frank? Do you know? Supposed to be.
I believe he was going to be here. I haven't
think
spoken to him the last hour, but he was planning on being at.
There it is.
Yeah, I just promoted Deshang to panelist.
Needs to unmute himself. Well, gentlemen, when you are ready, the floor is yours. If you just identify yourselves for the record. And sorry, Mr. Wang, there's no skiing allowed during the meeting.
Yeah. For the record, I'm Frank Rybelin with Rybelin Surveyors. I am here representing Mr. Gregory Mills, KGM Custom Homes, for this development. This is a development that I believe the board has some familiarity with. It is located on Mill Street in the town of Easton. We are just southerly of Peabody Drive on the easterly side of Mill Street. The entire property is just slightly less than 13 acres, and we are only proposing to construct 6 homes on this property. We have had extensive interactions previously with the Conservation Commission on this site, as well as the Planning Board. The wetlands have been delineated and have been reviewed by the Conservation Commission and previously, and ORAD was issued accepting the wetland line. There was also some confusion or controversy regarding the location of the floodplain. We are in an area that previously had an unnumbered A floodplain zone, which indicated that there was floodplain known to be within the area. However, FEMA had not definitively mapped it and had not established a definitive elevation of it. As such, the floodplain shown by FEMA was actually on the upland side. It kind of crossed over a ridge and did not include the lower wetland. Dr. Wang, who is here, did a very extensive floodplain study and has submitted that to FEMA. FEMA, after a very lengthy review of his study, has accepted the floodplain data that Dr. Wang has presented and has now issued a letter of map amendment to revise the floodplain maps of this area. And this current subdivision that you see in front of you does show the floodplain as is currently approved by FEMA. Dr. Wang also has prepared the drainage designs, and he will be able to respond to any questions regarding that. We have also had numerous meetings in the past with Natural Heritage to satisfy some of their concerns regarding the endangered species habitat that is known to have been in this general area. And I believe we have satisfied all of their concerns and have received an approval from them. And again, we can share that information with the planning board as well. Again, if Dr. Wang would like to address any of the drainage concerns, I would be more than happy to step aside and let him speak to that.
Thank you, Frank. So this subdivision, as Frank just introduced, it's actually almost like an open space development, in my opinion. So sort of put in a perspective, almost 13 acres of land, we're only going to put up less than an acre of impervious. In the past couple of years, this subdivision have gone through quite a few changes from narrowing the road, reduce lot number. The one's point to propose a flexible development to 9 lots, and the original development was 7 lots. And we have to do like a fee mitigation for the wildlife habitat. With the reduction of the 1 lot and narrowing the roadway, we could do all the mitigation on site for the wildlife habitat, so which is a great advance. And as a summary of the change, I can give you some numbers. The lot, so you can see it is from 7 to 6 lot now. The impervious area was originally proposed as 1.06 acres. Right now is 0.793 acres. It's a 25% reduction. And the road crossing was started with 66 feet of the culvert, and it's 36 inch in size, and reduced to 23 feet right now with the retaining walls, which is a 65% reduction. And the increase of the pipe size put in the perspective as right now we have like 2 18-inch pipes, which is restrict the wildlife crossing, and also the flood water. It will have like a scheme, a couple of inches of overflow during 100-year storm condition. But with this 48-inch pipe, so there's no overtopping on the new Old Ridge Road. So there will still will reduce a little bit on the Mill Street, but it's not going to be eliminated due to that restriction of the 2 18-inch pipes per the theory. So in reality, I did check with the people living around. Nobody have a recollection that road have ever overtopped. So that's just a reality check and theoretical check. That's why you can see even with the conservative analysis, the FEMA map have been revised just as we saw. And as a result of the road narrowing, the wetland fill will be reduced from 2,300 square feet to about 800 square feet, which is 65 reduction in the wetland fill. And for the floodplain, it's also going to reduce from almost 4,000 square feet to just a little bit over 400 square feet, and almost 90% reduction in the volume. Is like a 2,200 cubic feet to very like 400 cubic feet is 82% reduction. So for the 50-foot no disturbance zone, that's more related to wetlands, but it's probably is important to raise it here. Is a 33% reduction from 20,000 square foot to like about 13,000 in the 50-foot zone. And all the wetland fill will provide 2-to-1 replication, and at the entrance of the right-hand side. So you can see the flood storage at the entrance of the southwest corner. And for the stormwater management, we are providing 3 infiltration basins. The smaller one at the entrance is mainly to handle the runoff, which we cannot get to the larger basin. So we have treatment from deep sump catch basin and go to the oil grit separator to achieve the pre-treatment 44% before going to the infiltration basin. And that the larger infiltration basin pretty much take care of the rest of the roadway and some of the roof. And then some of the roof and the backyard of around the south side will go into basin 3. All the soils here is the class B soils and median sand to median loamy sand, but most of them are median sand. So it's supposed to be pretty permeable soils. And if you're looking at the layout around the south and southwest, we have a swale, and then this long infiltration basin. So all the water will, no matter what, whether they go through the drainage pipe or overland flow, will end up in this infiltration basin on the southwest. And on the north and the northeast, it's the water also graded from the front of the lot and the houses will drain toward the basin number 2. And all these basins is definitely, in my view, it's oversized at this point. So because we didn't really shrink it down when we designed it, we designed under the 1 acre impervious area. So the impervious area reduced over 20%. So we pretty much kept the basin size rather than to cut it down. So we did review and received comments from Order Curran, and we just provided the response today. Sorry for the late response to it, but in short, most of the comments are relatively minor, and it's ecological typos, consistency in data presentation on different sheets of plans. We pretty much corrected, and we haven't issued the updated the plan. The work is done. The reason is we like to wait a little bit, hope we can get the conservation's comments all together, then we don't have to keep issuing updates in the plan and kill trees to print the 30-something pages of paper work. So for some minor changes, and I like to briefing the board with what's the most critical one. I think the most critical is the groundwater separation question for the first two basins. In the old design, we do have the detention basin. Maybe Stephanie, we can go into the detail sheet. Maybe we can see a little bit better. But so we have enough pre-treatment to go into an infiltration basin. So therefore, we don't really need a micro pool. It's not this detail, not the grading breaking down. Like in the grading sheet, like 1-4 sheet, we can see the contour a little bit better. The grade is probably, I'm trying to see, probably 15, 16.
Are you talking sheet 14 or 15? Which sheet are you talking about?
Yeah, the one, if you're looking at this on the side of the index labor.
Well, I don't have that, and I don't have all the plan sheets. I have the proposed grading and drainage index plan right
Yeah,
here.
exactly. That's good. And then so let's move into the next one, or grow up to, yeah, you can see grow up a little. So we had a micro pool and sediment forebay, which is not necessarily needed with the pre-treatment we have. And our analysis would just counted the storage volume from the 2 feet groundwater separation and above, so which is 179.25. The high groundwater at here is 177.23. So the basin was left with the 179 contours and with the micro pool and the sediment forebay at 178. So which will provide more storage. But if you asking why people need a 2-foot groundwater separation, is I have talked with the DEP much earlier time, because the Tom McGuire, the people concerning is the pond will not be water within 72 hours to empty the storage area for the next storm. But for our case, we are not using any storage volume below the 2-foot contours, and we can eliminate the basins raising the grading to 179.25 as a minimum. If the board and the peer review, after we discuss them, they understand what we use. In the report, we clearly show that our storage volume only counted from 179.25. So we'll try to work that out. So either way, so if people understand we are not using that storage, so it means that even that area didn't quite get to be dewatered quick enough, it's still not going to impact the volume we need to store the water. We did provide the groundwater mountain analysis to show it will drop below the bottom of even the proposed, the existing 179 contours. So it's not going to stagnate there. For basin number 3, there's no issue. So that's a major issue I can see. Another one is about the road drainage calculation. In the old days, the pipe only designed for still, I think, frankly, if I'm wrong, so correct me. I think the town road drainage still require a 25-year storm condition for design, right? So if they are asking for hydraulic profile, basically hydraulic profile is the pipe invert plus the velocity head and the depth of the water in it. But the usual velocity head is very small. It's almost negligible. The only thing to check is the water filled up for 25-year elevation in the pond, which may be a little bit above the old fall invert, and that elevation kind of backup need to add it to the pipe profile to check and see if the catch basins or anything will be backed up to the road surface. If it's not, that means a little bit surcharge is for a larger storm is not a concern. We appreciated the comments, but that's normally the condition. We will provide a checkup on that. And from my quick view of it, the basin is, as I mentioned, is pretty low compared with the roadway profile, which is at 185, and here's like a 180. The elevation of 100-year storm even is at 180, around the 180 probably, 180. You know, it's quite a few feet. The roadway is a few feet above that elevation, so it shouldn't have any backup concern flooding the roadway. And again, if it's really during 100-year flood condition, if the major concerns are two parts. It's not concern actually effects. Is that most of the house gutter is not going to handle that. So it means those gutter is not going to get the water into the system. They're going to be overflowed a little bit, become a sheet flow. For our case, there's no sheet flow will end up into wetlands without detention. So we have the long swale. You can see it pretty much wrapping our side on this side of it. On the other side, the water conveyance is in front of the house, so which is also like a swale will end up into the basin. So I don't see any danger for the drainage system will impact negatively on the resources or any concerning butters and wetlands. So the drainage design was designed for two major parts. One is the south, the east, where was concerned that the core habitat of the endangered species marbled salamander, which is quite far away. So from the jurisdiction of wetlands impact, they are not going to be impacted. You can see the 50-foot, 100-foot. So any disturbance is more than 150 feet, and actually we are going to restore a good amount of area within the close to the habitat. So the rest of it on this side is far away from the wildlife habitat, but we also maintain the pretty much 50-foot except the road crossing as a limited project. So this is where we are replicating the wetlands, and so the culvert was cut down with 63 feet daylighting section and getting into only 23 48-inch pipe. So we believe overall it's a very good improvement on the overall design compared with the first version. And I just that's basically what I had to say, and we'll be happy to address any questions.
What was the third thing you said? I'm just kidding. So we appreciate the presentation. And so do you want to open this up to the board, or do you guys still have more to present? Frank, I want to go about this.
Mr. Strange, if I could ask.
You had to remember, it's been a while.
No, I think it would be nice if maybe Frank gave an overview, and I think maybe you've already done this, but I think Frank gave an overview back in August before withdrawing and then resubmitting. So I don't know if the board needs just a refresher on the lot layouts. I mean, it's all laid out here.
Maybe just the estate lot. Just refresh us on the estate lot.
Okay, the estate lot down at the end of the cul-de-sac. again, does meet the requirements. It has 40 feet of frontage and a total area of almost 82,997 square feet. 100% of the estate lot is upland area. There's no wetlands at all on that estate lot. Again, we're trying to minimize the length of the roadway, minimize the environmental impacts by reducing the length of the roadway. Therefore, we were able to create the estate lot without extending the road a greater distance to create its normal 150 feet of frontage.
Right, so the estate lot is lot 4 there, and it has like that frontage is kind of right there on the.
That is correct.
Yeah, right where the mouse is there, right, the hand is, yep. Okay.
Okay, thank you, because I'm having a hard time finding the
Yep,
lot.
right there.
Yeah.
And then this is this the lot line, and then this is
That is
the
the lot line, yes, so that's the other
Right.
lot line.
Yeah, it starts right at the radius. Yeah.
And is this the driveway that actually runs right up on the lot line right here?
That is correct. That would be the driveway leading to the home.
Yeah.
And it does have the 40 feet of frontage at the street, but as you can see, the lot width increases immediately once it leaves the right of way.
Right, it goes here to here.
Okay. No extending that into another cul-de-sac or anything. No, it's gonna pay.
No, it would go to a house right here. And this is grading right here, correct?
That is correct. That's proposed contour lines.
It was a bad joke pretending that you could put a paper cul-de-sac at the end of that and put a couple of lots down there.
No.
Bad joke. Bad joke.
Hopefully that was
Bad joke.
Isn't that where we started?
Yeah.
Earlier.
So Greg, I just had a couple of comments that I don't know if they've been addressed. Deshang indicated that they sent their report at 6:05 this afternoon, so I did not have a chance to look at it.
I can't believe that.
Partly in response to Woodard and Curran's, I would guess largely in response to Woodard and Curran's comments, but I also had some comments myself, so I don't know if they were answered. One was in relevant to the approved LOMR. The applicant should upload a copy of FEMA's approval of the LOMA to permitize, so we have that there. I don't know if that's been done yet of the LOMA. Let's see. I did note that all the plan sheets drawn by Ryblin did not include your stamp. Frank, I think there were a couple of sheets that didn't have your stamp on it that need to be.
I will be happy to submit, provide sheets that will be stamped with my stamp and my signature on it.
Which is fine. Then the plan set does not show the location of test pits and borings, which are supposed, they have been provided in a separate report, but it would be helpful if they were shown on the plan to facilitate review. Also, there's reference to the conservation plan required by Natural Heritage. Again, it would be helpful if that had been uploaded, if that were uploaded to permitize. And I think that was it. And again, we just need to have Woodard and Curran review your response and let us know if it's complete. Are there any other?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So Stephanie, so all your 4 points of comments is all very important issues. I can check with Frank. I believe when I packaged all the documents, the LOMA's approval was included in it. And if it's needed, I can send you a separate one because so it's easier to find out. And Frank will stamp whatever the missing. And the test pit issue was raised also by with the current. We kind of integrated our soil testing report testings and into the existing and the proposed plan, so you can see the location relative to our stormwater management. As far as the conservation plan, I saw this in this set of plan. it was a part of it. On my side, on my end, I know what the sheet is, and we see it should be the same. It's supposed to be the same sheet, same sets of plan, and you see, it's almost at the very end of it. Yeah, it's the last sheet is the conservation approved conservation plan, and you see what we labeled. It's the one I have is 22 sheets. So the one I saw you have is 34 sheets. So there must be some additional sheets was inserted into it. I probably need to review and take a look of it with Frank. But the conservation plan was in our original submittal as sheet 22 previously. So
so I can look for that.
Right.
Any plan sheets beyond sheet 22 would be new to me. I have not prepared them.
Do we know whoever put there? Because we didn't prepare that. We only did up to 22. If you go to sheet 22.
This is not the numbers you see here represent my binder with all the materials from tonight.
Oh, I see.
This is not the submittal.
I see.
I'm confident there are no rogue plans.
Okay. Yeah, if you go to the original set, sheet 22 should be the conservation.
You guys figured it out.
The natural heritage breaking down on the habitat area.
Okay.
Is that everything, Stephanie, on your end?
Yep.
So I know we're still obviously waiting for a bit, but board members, do you have any questions or comments at this point? Or do we want to wait till we hear back from Woodward and Collins and the response?
I think we just have to look at that, see the peer review, any changes for that, and then it looks all right.
All right. Anybody else? No. Okay. And I don't think I see anything from the audience.
No more comments.
Nope. And that hand's been up forever. That was from the previous. So, should we continue this to the 22nd or to the?
Oh, my suggestion would be to the first.
The first, okay.
As Dr. Wang suggested, that the comments had a lot to do with just inconsistencies and typo. Then the review should be pretty quick.
All right, so why don't we do that? And then if there's a slight chance that we won't be having a meeting on the 1st, we'd have to push it off to the 22nd. But for tonight's purposes, why don't we continue to the 1st? So if someone would care to make that motion.
Motion to continue to November 1st, Stetson.
Sharon, second.
The second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Sarah Guy.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you on the 1st.
Yeah, thank you.
very much.
I need to adopt Peter's last name as my first name because it's so close.
Yeah, that's good. I know that. Yeah,
it will be easier to pronounce, right?
Yeah, that's the way we say it. It's French, but the way we say it here is the Shane. So sounds exactly like your first name. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Yeah, well,
I'd hate to break up this reunion. No. All right. Where did my agenda? Oh, it's printed. That's right, printed. All right. Next up, we're getting there, folks. We'll do the meeting minutes at the end. Variance 2118 81 Summer Street. This is the common driveway that we just approved 2 meetings back, I guess, on Summer Street that we had the site walk on, and they are applying for a variance to eliminate that driveway to the existing house that we recommended they do. So knowing that we kind of all agreed and talked about this, I would just ask someone to make a motion. I mean, unless someone wants to chime in, but I think Stephanie and I can write a nice letter of recommendation explaining why we did this to the ZBA.
Make a motion to approve or support the variance, Stetson.
Anderson, second.
All those in favor, Strange eye.
And I,
Stetson, aye.
Belcher, aye.
Anyway,
That is unanimous. Thank you all. Next special permit 21-15, 98 Columbus Ave. This is over at the junior high. The existing school bus company has a facility that is from the town. They've been using a trailer for years and it is no longer usable. So they have purchased a trailer and would like to place it here, but it was a use variance, right, Stephanie? I'm going by memory.
Right, it's a special permit for the trailer, which they had never sought. I'm guessing they didn't realize they needed one.
Yeah, I think the brief said it was picked up by the town staff, right?
Yes, yes, yep.
So I know we need the children to get to school, so I'm not getting in the way of this.
motion to recommend the variance.
Second, Stetson.
All those in favor? Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Belcher, aye.
I'm going to jump ahead for a second. Variance 2117, 842 Washington Street. Just jumping because I think the last one might take us a little bit. So this was a house that was demolished, I believe, in 2009. So they lost their use rights, and they're looking to construct a house, a 3-bedroom house, which I don't know if I Google Earth this. If anybody wants me to share my screen, I can show it to you quickly. But it's up in that section where a lot of small homes. If you're familiar where the stained glass business is, it's right in that neck of the woods. And do you want me to share my screen, or does that matter?
Yeah, I have to stop sharing mine for you to do that.
You should just update that lot. Some of those laws about it,
Okay, but let's do that another night.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
My 4 a.m. wake-up call to get Kathy to the airport is catching up.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Hopefully this works. Come on, slow computer. All right, did you get it?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so that right there, you can see where the old driveway is. I'll just pan just so you can see. That's looking south towards Rainham. And we spin around, and right up here is where this, the yellow building, the stained glass company is there. Up here is Easton Pool and Spa, just to give you an idea. So you can see this area has all small lots, all small houses. And here is where the house was. And then you can see I also have the site plan open if you guys know. So here's so my screen, right here is where I was taking that picture from. So here's the lot, had a house on it at one point, they took it down. So you can see the lot is the same, pretty much the same size as all the other ones, about 8,400 feet. This one's 11,250, one of the larger. And behind this, these small homes, just again for location, that is the cottage, the 40B cottage home on Pine Street that Rick Lincoln recently completed. That's sort of the back of it, which you can kind of see almost. Just to give you an idea. If you want me to go back to the site plan, let me know. Come on, click. There we go. So you can see up in here, this is on construction, but that's where the cottage homes went. So
I guess it doesn't. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Peter?
I was wondering if we should make a comment. I just let it kind of say like a Board of Appeals type thing, or I mean, it doesn't bother me. But
we can support it if we want. Yeah, whatever. We can support it.
You guys
not
decide.
support it, we can do that.
I won't. Yeah, no, I won't vote against it, but you guys decide.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what is your?
I just wondered how this kind of thing was handled in the past. Like, is that, like, oh, I didn't realize,
I think we've had. I think this has come across a couple times with similar. A few years ago, remember there was a house that was lost to a gas explosion, and that took a while for legal and insurance reasons. That took I think it's 2 years, right? And of course, that wasn't voluntary demolition; that was an accident. But they had to go. They still had to go through because they lost their rights, but it was allowed.
It can be useful, like say like if maybe a non-conforming type of a business or something, right? Stopped operating, then it would revert to the underlying zoning. So maybe they couldn't keep having whatever, like.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's good protection. It seems like what they're proposing is in keeping what is in this, you know, in the spirit here. So, right. I mean, personally, I'd rather see a house go here than a business because it's, you know, because it's all.
Yeah, a business will never fit and probably won't get a variance anyways, right? So.
Motion is support, Stetson.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Strange eye.
The Shane eye.
Stetson eye.
Belcher eye.
Very good. Thank you. Hey, Stefan, just as maybe on when we meet on Wednesday, we can just real quick dedicate some time to that.
Yep.
You know, the Summer Street, just before I forget. Okay, so the last one, this is the 15 Plymouth Drive. This one was a little, did you see this was the one that's sort of like an entertainment business? They want to put in one of the businesses.
Indoor recreation is what there is nothing specific for event space under the table of uses, and in talking both with Mark Trivett before he left and then with Kevin Greiner, we believe that indoor recreation would cover event space. And that is what they are proposing to use this space for.
Yeah, it said there's enough parking for, I think, 100. Geez, so my question is there enough parking? Inside the building, there might be some issues, but that's building code, that's not us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's enough parking? 107 spaces?
I didn't get a chance to look at this.
It said, yeah, it said there's a letter. Let me see it.
I have the letter open. Do you want me to share it? Or
Yeah, go ahead, why don't you? Let me show.
Let's see, it's 7,500. I mean, I can pull out, I have the zoning right here. 7,500 square feet of space, and there are 102 parking spaces available on the property. And off-street parking is allowed in the industrial park. I wonder if they mean on-street parking, which you don't really see in the industrial park. And then I think they just go on to describe their business and the type of event.
So does anybody have any strong feelings on this? Do you want to, we can do nothing, we can.
What are they trying to do? I don't understand what they're doing.
They want to take.
Using it as a function hall.
Yeah, 7,500 square. Their logo. What's their slogan? They do fun affordably, or no? They do
affordable.
So yeah,
it's on the top. It's up on their logo. They do something.
It's like a private Knights of Columbus or something like that.
We do unforgettable, affordable.
Yeah. Yep.
How is this super different than Kids Planet, which is in the industrial park?
I think this is more like maybe dancing or something. Right?
No, but I mean, it's a different type of recreational activity, and yes, like Greg is saying, it's more dinner and
right. Look at Mother's that right there. See number 4. It talks about it's talked about Mother's Day brunches and
right.
So it seems to be more adult centric.
Yes.
More cars. So that was just my concern. Was there enough parking? So
hold on, I'm looking for the parking so we can.
Because the industrial park zoning currently is what? It's just limited to commercial business.
Yeah, industrial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of parking on the street anytime except for the winter, right?
This is not because of the uses allowed in the industrial park. It's because indoor recreation requires a special permit.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
So did Kids Planet have to get a special permit, or is that?
Well, I'm guessing they did. They've been there for a long time, so I don't know. I don't know myself.
102 parking lots is pretty good, and they usually make a few more, right? But
we'll be hiring new staff. We expect to hire 3 to 8 local staff. Crystal Light Events is proposing to rent approximately 7,500 square feet.
Let's see, 230.
We started
Says the
operating.
primary source of income being weddings, birthdays, and baby showers. Weddings, you definitely need some parking, but 100 might be enough.
It'll operate
But
between.
they can only hold so many.
It'll operate between 8 a.m. and 1 a.m. Monday to Sunday. I didn't even know you could do that, but that's Board of Selectmen. Functions typically end at 11:30 to 12 p.m., 12 a.m. Cleanup takes us to 1 a.m. Ample parking for guests. So, yeah, 7,500 square feet.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of that, like even like less trafficy end of the industrial part too.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I mean,
It's
there's
in
almost
a
a dead
halfway
end.
decent spot for something like this.
Isn't there a dead end there?
Well, yeah, it does. That whole park dead ends. I mean,
Okay,
you get down to it.
yeah, a motion to recommend that, I guess, based on that.
I just wanted to, I just looked it up. So I don't know what did you say 7,500 square feet?
Yeah.
Yes.
But the parking table, the table of off-street parking regulations doesn't really have a good, so you have business services, community facility, or public utility.
Does it have function hall or anything like that?
No.
Assembly?
No, it has theater, auditorium, church, or similar place of public assembly with seating facilities. And then you need one parking space for each 5 seats of total seating capacity.
I would suggest that they look for some shared parking arrangements with some of the other businesses that might have different operating hours.
Yeah.
So if you go by the building code and it's unconcentrated tables and chairs, which it sounds like it would be.
Yeah.
The max occupant load would be 500 people. So, I mean.
Yeah, see, that was kind of I didn't know that number, but my concern was, yeah, a lot of weddings are 150, 200 people, right?
That's a lot of people.
Of course, it's in the cul-de-sac. It's in the industrial, so there is a lot of. But that's not
And
a
a
bad
lot of the
recommendation.
events, I'm guessing, will be during hours that the other businesses aren't.
That's true.
Yeah, and also if it's 1 for every 5, then they're still covered.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though. You think of it. The issue could be this: late at night, there's a big party going on. There's plenty of places to park there, but does it become an issue for the other property owners? Right. So, not a bad idea if we were to recommend something. Just saying, hey, they might want to look at shared parking in case.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
I just thought that, just as a point out, since that's kind of what we deal with, not bad giving a tip to ZBA.
Good idea, Peter.
Peter, do you want to amend your motion?
Peter's whipping out those gems in overtime.
I lost it.
I've got a recommendation of shared parking.
Yeah, it was. How'd you forget that?
The place keep changing owners and functions. It was Comcast. So
Sox are now up 9-0.
Yeah,
oh, spoiler alert.
Wow. And they're playing the Astros again?
Yeah, they had another grand slam in the second inning.
No, really?
Yeah.
I never watched baseball. I was watching it with my father the other day and saw both those innings with both those grand slams.
Yep.
That was
I'm
great.
going to watch it, so let's wrap this up here.
Yeah.
Peter, do you want to amend your motion?
You're the one working on the motion.
Yes.
I thought it was recommend with suggestion that they look into shared parking.
Oh, that's it?
Yes.
Okay,
Do I
yeah,
have a
sure.
second?
Second, Stetson.
All those in favor, strange eye.
Deshaun, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Sarah.
Before we get into the minutes, this is where we chastise the person responsible for setting the agenda, which would be Greg. Jake.
I know nothing.
What? Greg is now responsible for sending the agenda.
This is what we get. This is what we get for. No, I saw this. I tried to change it, but the problem is on the. On the public hearings, the statute, you have to start them. Believe me, I threw myself on the mercy of the court. I think we may have paid the price for skipping 1 week, but.
I'm with you. I got you.
I was in the Berkshire selling art. I don't know why I'm being attacked.
Oh, I'm sorry. I retract.
Northampton's not the
What's the
Berkshire.
issue?
Hey, it is when you grew up in Whitman. It's almost the Rockies. Oh, spoken. Gee, who do you think's from the Berkshires, huh?
All right.
All right,
the minutes now.
Peter, what do you got?
We got minutes coming up. Nothing.
Nothing. I'll accept the motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Stetson.
Chris.
All those in favor, strange eye.
Deshaun, aye.
Anderson, aye.
and
Sarah.
All right. Now I'd like to take a few minutes. Hey, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Suzanne, and to the board. Long night, I know it, but you guys, you did great. We got through it a lot, and I appreciate all your efforts. And we didn't get too silly. 3 hours and 50 minutes into it.
We even have Dale still with us. Dale's still at the meeting. Good night, Dale.
He's already sent me 3 emails.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, so we'll circle back. I mean, it looks like we'll have this thing on the 1st, which would be good instead of, that way you don't have to jam so much.
Yeah,
on the 18th,
yeah.
right? So, but if anything changes. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And go Red Sox. Motion, who's going to take us out of here?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Strange eye.
Anderson, aye.
Sarah Guy.
All right. Thanks, everybody.